Together we are but first coffee. Susie's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions. If not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand, this is a safe place to land. Please understand, you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Susie welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and Susie.
Hey.
You almost caught me humming it.
Well, I was getting ready to start dancing. So, sometimes you just need that song.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes
How are you, my dear
just
friend?
need it. I am good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We finally got a little bit of reprieve from the heat. It was only 77 today, so I'm loving
Oh,
life.
wow. Yeah. Well, it's not telling me how hot it is here today, but it was a little bit cooler here. They said that it was going to be hot and that the heat index was going to be like 103, but I don't think it was near that. It didn't
No,
feel anywhere near that. So I don't know what happened, but they got that one wrong.
but you live in the South. It's a dry heat.
Yeah. Oh, it's humid here. It
Oh,
is
really?
humid.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That's
very, very. We'll
unusual.
have 90 something percent humidity. It is
Yeah, that's
terrible.
when it gets
Feels
like
like a
that.
sauna.
When it gets like that
Yeah.
here, you can feel it in your lungs every time you try to take a deep breath. It's like, oh,
Yeah. I grew up in California where it was dry heat, and when we moved here, I thought, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die."
hmm
It was awful. It was absolutely awful.
I want to pop something open.
So, you ready to do this one today?
Yeah.
I am
Thank you, Heat, for
too.
noticing my my humble attempt at ending the live about 3 times last night. I didn't realize that when you end the live, you can't leave the stream until it actually ends or it won't. So I'm
Yeah.
like, people are telling me, "Hey, the live's still going." I'm like, "What? I turned it off."
Oh, no. I did that one time. I don't know what
Mhm.
happened, but, I mean, it was right after I started, and it was like people could hear me over there fixing dinner and all kinds of stuff. It was so funny. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
thank God, nothing embarrassing going on," you
Yeah,
know?
can you imagine if you were,
They
like, throwing
they
profanities around and people are like, "What's
Yeah,
happening
right,
to Susie?"
like me and Mark getting an argument or something, I'd be like, "And let me tell you this."
The
Or
mask is
God, if he
off.
ever raised his voice at me, because that never happens, but that would be the time,
Yeah,
that would absolutely
exactly,
be the time something
exactly.
like that happens. So, how's the chat doing? It looks like we've got quite a few people in here for
Yeah,
a midweek,
no
in the
kidding.
afternoon, midweek, so I'm
Uh,
always glad to see you guys. I was gonna tell you guys that tonight is kind of, I guess, the official end of our men's mental health shows for this month.
mhm.
We do have one Saturday that's gonna deal with men's mental health, but it'll also deal with women's mental health. But, anyway, I was kinda thinking about that, and I think that mental health in general deserves 12 months every year.
Yeah, This
So
is
I just
a
think that
lot
there
more
is a never-ending supply of things that we could talk about. So I've decided that on this channel that July is going to start off our just continued focus on mental health. Now we're not going to do, every show's not going to be about mental health. It'll be a lot
Mhm.
like how it's been this month, where a lot are and then some aren't, and just a mismatch.
A
So,
healthy
but
mix.
anyway, yeah, but we all know, if we have learned anything this month, we know that men absolutely are triggered by the same things, the same diagnoses, everything that women are, but they handle things different.
Mhm.
And so that has been kind of an ongoing theme with us in how do men handle this versus how do women handle it, which we're going to do tonight too
Right.
and Saturday. But I just thought that would be a good thing to kind of continue when we're talking about these things, to continue to talk about how different things affect men versus women. So that's what
Mm.
we're gonna kinda do, and that way we'll be talking about mental health every month, not just in not
Well,
just May and June.
fresh in everyone's minds. I like that.
Yeah, I do too, I really do. It just I don't know, if you're not mentally healthy, then you're not gonna be physically healthy either, because that's a proven fact that your mental health does affect your physical health.
Yeah, we talk
It's like
about that a
health is
lot.
health. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And
Exactly.
another thing that I really wanna stress starting out this next month too is I wanna get rid of the stigma. People, whenever they used to say, somebody is mentally ill or they've got a mental illness, I mean, it was
Mhm.
like this horrible thing, like that they were institutionalized and all this stuff, which even that is just more therapy. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not the bad thing that people used to think it was when we were kids or when our parents were kids.
right. And part of the
So I
reason for that is
really
because we actually have names for them now. We can
Yes,
give them
exactly.
names and we can give them diagnoses,
Absolutely.
where before we just
Which is
lumped
so
everybody
great.
together.
Yeah, if you
Mhm.
had a little bit of depression, it was the same as being, you know, schizophrenic or something, and
Mhm.
and we know now that even schizophrenia, there's things we can do, I mean, and it's not this horrible, horrible thing no matter what it is, and that's what I wanna work towards starting in July. I wanna work towards getting rid of that stigma, you
Yeah.
know, to where if you say something about somebody has a mental illness, if you say yourself, like if I say, "I suffer from some mental illnesses," I don't it shouldn't
Mhm.
be a shame,
Right.
it
Exactly.
shouldn't be something to be ashamed of, because
Mhm.
the thing is you can't help it. It's not something that you seek out. It just
Right.
it happens to you,
Yeah.
and
It's
so
not something you
how
manufacture.
you yeah. So how
Mhm.
you deal with it is what's important. So I just really want to, if we can do anything, John, I just really want to for people to realize that it's not a stigma. It's not anything bad or anything to be ashamed of, whether you're a male, a female, if you're
Right.
12 or 80, it is nothing to be ashamed of.
Exactly.
And that's why I want this to be a safe place for everybody to go. So, this and Mental Health Matters,
Absolutely.
that's 2 great channels right there. There's others, that are really
Mhm.
great, and we just need to really support each other and support channels that are supporting all of us and that kind of thing. So,
Yep.
anyway, that's my big
Agree.
spiel.
I agree.
You agree? I've
Yeah.
been out in the wind, can you tell? Now I've got, like, the runny nose thing happening, my allergies. The wind was blowing, the sun was behind the clouds most of the time when I was out in the pool today. I'm just like, "Ugh."
Uh-huh.
Between the wind blowing and Veta just because that child never takes a breath.
Well, she's 8 years old. I mean, they're all chatterboxes at that age.
Absolutely, and she's related to me. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I heard that, mhm. So, anyway, I'm gonna check in with our chat real quick, and then we can get started. I've got a lot of stuff that I've
Alright.
already got pulled up to put on the screen that'll help us just go into the conversation instead of looking at my notes. I've got them on the screen,
Mhm.
and they will have the sources listed with them. So, if anybody wonders about anything, just let me know. If it's
Mhm.
something that you can't see, let me know, and I'll definitely post it in my community post later if you want to see it again or whatever. Because some of these are really great. Some of these slides that I'm going to put up, and I want people to understand that if any of these really like speak to them or something, or say something that they want to, to revisit, let us know. And I have absolutely no problem posting all of them if I need to.
Hmm.
And people can use that because it's not about, me being the place that they see it or hear it. I want them to see it or hear it, however and wherever,
Right.
and get help if they need to. So,
Absolutely.
anyway, so David, it is good to see you. Heat My Shorts is here. Jersey Jan, Mare's here. Isn't that your sister? You call her your sister
One
from
of
another
one of my
mister or something?
one of my big sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Incarnasoul, good to see you, sir. There's John. He's in the chat and on the stage. How does he do it? How does he do it? I don't
ADHD,
know.
Susie.
Yeah.
I'm a multitasker.
Yeah. Brazy is here. Good to
Hi,
see you
Brazy.
too. It looks like a there's a few others, but I've got so many mods right now that it's like a mod party.
Yeah.
I like to have lots of mods though, because that way nobody is like feeling like they've got to be there. There's gonna always be somebody else that can take their place. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Jersey Jan. Okay, here
We
we
were
go.
teasing earlier in the chat because you made Ben Bacon bits a mod, and I say, "Oh, there goes
Yes.
the neighborhood."
Well,
I love
he's
my
one
brother
that is
Ben.
really handy because he can do evenings or weekends.
Yeah.
And so when other people are busy on evenings or weekends, then
Hmm.
that's somebody that could fill in then. And then like he can't do it, a lot of these this time of day and during the week and everything he can't do. And
Yeah.
so it just makes it, you know,
Well, and also
oh, I like
Mare and Mischief work almost as hard as you do, and they
oh, I
deserve a
know
break
it.
once in a while.
I know it. Sometimes I
Mm.
think they work harder than me because they're always running errands for me, like doing stuff. Can you go find this? Or
Yeah.
what about that? Or I don't know. There's just always some little something. And I'm always like, I don't know how to do some of the stuff. So I'm always like
Yeah.
getting a hold of Mischief and saying, okay, can you do this? Can you do that? She's not really feeling good today. So she's got a
Oh, I'm
headache.
sorry to hear that. Hope you're feeling better,
Yeah.
Mischief. We love
So
you, dear.
Pete says, I'm eager for this one. I struggle with my eating habits. You and me
Mhm.
both, buddy. You and me both. In
Yeah.
fact, I added, I think, 4 more slides to the very end of this that I wasn't going to do because I started thinking about myself and I thought, hmm. So I looked some stuff up real quick. Actually, on this one, I just went and punched it into. A lot of times I'll get the information and then I'll have that whatever it is, whatever it is.
GPT. Yeah.
I'll get you can put it in there and it'll put it in as, like, slides for you. Like, you can input
Oh.
the information and they will make the slides for you. So that's how I
Oh.
make a lot of my slides, is I'll go
Well,
get the
that's good to
information,
know.
but then I'll have them do it
Mhm.
so that I don't have to, type it and everything. I can just well, I mean, I gotta type it then, but I
Yeah.
you can do it really fast. It doesn't they don't care about your spelling, they don't care about nothing. They just fix
Oh,
it.
wow. I have a lot to learn from you because
So
I'm still doing it old school, making PowerPoints and stuff, and it's especially in
yeah.
my job. God, I make so many PowerPoints, and it's so time
Oh, I
consuming.
bet. I bet you do. Oh,
Mhm.
wow. I used to. Hey, Patty. What's this one?
Mm.
Hold on just a sec. I keep hitting the wrong deal. Hi, Susie, Brazy, Mystic Killing Through Song, Heat My Shorts. Hello, or David. Hello, everybody. She's just saying hello to everybody. She's a friendly, friendly lady.
She is. We love Patty.
Hmm.
Patty's from down there in Louisiana.
Yeah, I know. I
Mhm.
know it.
Well, they've been getting to
She,
eat
uh,
too.
she's so funny. She'll send me voice messages. And
Mhm.
then she'll, like it's so I laugh. I love getting them. 'em. I'm not complaining. Don't even think I am. I love it. But I
We all
laugh
have
at her.
stories.
Yes. I laugh, not at her, but with her, basically,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
she'll leave a voice message, and then she'll
Mhm.
leave a voice message to tell me she's sorry that last voice
Was so
message
long.
was so long,
Yeah.
which is so a thing I would do.
Yeah, and, I was gonna say, you 2 have a lot in common, and it's kinda
Yeah.
like parallels because You're a
Mhm.
former newspaper person, she's a former radio person,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you like doing, skits with characters, and she's got
Yeah.
some characters that would just blow you away. You wouldn't
Oh,
believe.
wow.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
she's so funny. You guys both
Yeah.
crack me up.
She's something. She is
Mhm.
something. And she is blunt. If y'all think I'm blunt,
Oh yeah.
she is blunt.
Southern women, I keep saying it. Southern women don't hold nothing back.
No.
They tell you what they
Uh,
think.
She says, "Okay, gang, if you say something to me, I'm laying here listening and not looking at the chat." Well, you can hear us and we are talking about you.
We're talking about you.
David says it's 89 here today. So that's
Mm,
I mean, it was still warm, but
yeah.
it wasn't in the 90s
Yeah,
feeling
you
like
can live with 89.
103.
89's
Oh
hot,
yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah. No, that's like mild. And for
Yeah,
this time of year, that's like, wow, almost a cold front.
yeah.
Well, it
And the
was funny
last
because Veta
no,
came
go ahead.
over here in sweatpants and a sweatshirt when she came over to get me to go to the pool, and I said, "You wanna go to the pool? Is that what you're here for?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "Well, I'll have to go get my suit on." But she had on a thick sweatshirt and
Wow.
yeah. So,
Oh, boy.
uh yeah. Patty saying, "Hello." Yeah, she's right over in Louisiana. She sure
Mhm.
is. I used to go to Louisiana all the time around Lake Charles and New Orleans and
Mm.
um the other name of the place I went to just went floating, just flew straight out of my head. That just irritates me to death when I absolutely know something.
I've never
Mare,
been
thank you
down there,
so
but I'd love to
much.
go someday.
My ex-husband used to work in Louisiana a lot. He would work in New Orleans and he would work in Lake Charles
Hmm.
in the refineries.
Mhm.
And so anyway, we spent a lot of time down there. I didn't really go to Lake Charles that much. I went through there a few times
Mhm.
and we stayed there a couple times, but not for any length of time. But man, he was in New Orleans one time for 6 months
Oh, wow.
and me and the girls went and spent the entire summer there. It was hot and it rains every day, every
Mhm.
single day. I'm just like, "Oh my gosh."
And it's a steamy rain too.
Yes, it is. And
Mhm.
it like floods everything because they sit so low.
Mhm.
Ugh, it is a mess.
I bet.
Yeah, autism. We're gonna talk about autism too. Hey, Amy. She has a wrench.
She
Yay.
does. She finally got it.
Yeah, thank goodness, right? Ben has
Mhm.
his wrench. See, I'm doing something right. Hey,
You got it
Ben.
on
Hey,
lock,
Amy.
Susie.
Finally.
Well, it
Oh,
takes us a while
goodness.
to get there, but we get there.
Yeah. I'm a woman of a certain age.
Oh god, don't start
Aw.
playing that card, young one.
Patty says, "Thank you for that, Susie and John, because that's the main thing we want to get rid of, the stigma." Absolutely.
Absolutely.
To
Yeah.
when we are raising money for awareness. Yeah, because if you're
Mhm.
trying to raise money for it and people think that it's like some, you know, other kind of deal, that it makes it hard. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, but thank you, Mayor, for those gifted memberships. That is awesome. Yes, please put CCC for comment and QQQ for question, if you please. Even just one
Mhm.
C, one Q, I don't care, but something to kind of
Yeah.
because Mischief is not here in the back office, so we are winging it, y'all. As you
Mhm.
know, she's the one that runs this show. Uh,
Yeah, Mischief's got
Mare
us on
says
the
that
clock.
she's spending her kids' inheritance. Me too. Like, we're supposed to leave money for you?
Yeah.
We left some over in Hawaii. We left some over there. We left some in Savannah. We've left money all over. They just have to go
Just
enjoy,
gotta
you
go.
know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like I say, you can't
yeah.
take it with you, so you might as well enjoy it while you have it.
Mhm. Crazy says, "My mother taught me nothing but bad habits. She introduced me at 10 years old to purge because you're fat." Oh,
Mm.
30 to 40 years, I was bulimic, gratefully recovered.
Oh, wow.
I am, and
Right.
y'all are you're gonna laugh. the trolls are gonna have a good time with this.
Hmm.
Um, my oncologist said that she is not the kind of doctor that diagnoses those kind of things.
Hmm.
And so, she would not diagnose me with an eating disorder, but she is very concerned about it, and she said that I have a form of anorexia. And I'm, like, sitting there going,
Could have fooled me.
yeah. I'm like, "I eat cheese enchiladas at least once a week,
Hmm.
and I am not ashamed to say I weigh over 200 pounds. I'm a size 18. I am not a skinny girl
Hmm.
by any stretch of the imagination." And she kept telling me, "You don't have to be. There are kinds of anorexia that they don't get skinny, but they still have the same tendencies, and it's because of how your body does it." And so she
Hmm.
told me what it was, and so earlier, that's what I went and looked up. I have completely ignored everything she said until today, and I went and dug out the papers where she, wrote it down so that I would remember what she had told me,
Hmm.
and, yeah, and then I, went and looked it up. So I'm gonna read some of that too because I thought, "You know
Okay.
what? If I've got this, there's might be other people that's got it too." And I
Yeah.
think she's
I've
right.
never
I
heard of
think
that.
that she's right. But yeah, I had not either. I
Hmm.
know that my mom was always very concerned with my eating habits because I will, like, eat nothing, for days
Hmm. Yeah.
or eat something, some little something, like, I'm talking, like, I might not eat 4 or 500 calories a day, and that's with drinking and whatever.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And then other times, if I go out to eat, I'll eat cheese enchiladas, but, like, I'll get, um even that I've noticed that I've really started really limiting. So I'm really gonna go talk to the doctor about it because I don't want it to get bad. Um,
Right.
I mean, because it can cause health problems. I'm not worried so much about the skinny. I
Yeah.
would like that part of it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind that part of it, but it causes some health problems, and that's what was making my oncologist look into it, and I've got those listed on there too of what it can cause,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
it's amazing. But anyway, so I'm gonna pull a couple things up on the let me do this one first real quick. My husband lost his mother this past August, and this is after he had 3 strokes. There's been some depression, but I've gotta say I'm really proud of how he is thriving today.
Yes,
That's
we are very
wonderful.
proud of Scott, Patty. Very proud.
Yes, very proud.
He's a
I
stubborn
actually got
Southern man, but we're finally bringing him around. So
I actually got an email from him a couple of nights ago. I was like, "Oh my word, I'm so honored."
really,
Yeah, it was very
wow.
nice.
Well, that's
So,
sweet.
yeah, I loved it. I was so happy. It
Hmm.
was interesting information too.
Hmm.
So, and I did not have it, Patty, so you can tell him I did not have that information at the time that he gave it to me, but I did pass it on.
Hmm.
So, anyway, I'm gonna add this one real quick, and again, I may have to have you do some of this reading.
Not a problem.
So, we're talking about, um, eating disorders and how men and women how they affect men and women differently. So,
Hmm.
some of this is gonna talk about it, kinda lump it into one because some of it, like, they're just like this one, the prevalence of it, they're gonna kind of lump it into one, and then they'll
Hmm.
divide it up later. So, there's, like, gonna be some of it's lumped together, and then some of it'll say men, some of it'll say women, and again, some of it is the same, they just lump it as one.
Right. Yeah.
So, anyway, but some of this information was just shocking to me, and it says that around 9% of the US population, or 28 million people, experience an eating disorder at some point in their lives.
Let that sink in.
That's
28 million people. That's just in the United States.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't even dig for, like, Canada and stuff, how I'll usually
Hmm.
dig because I would have had, like, 50 slides to show. It
Hmm.
was insane, but I'm figuring that it's gonna be close to the same in the other countries too, because everything I look up, we're almost always pretty close,
Top of
the
the list. Yeah.
yeah, the numbers are pretty close, but 28 million people
Mm,
experience an eating disorder at some point in their lifetime. And that is there, y'all. That little scribble at the end of it is where I got that information, and I meant to hit to do it bold and it didn't do it. Some of
it's
the further in will be more bold.
it's the eatingrecoverycenter.com is the source
How
on
do
that
you
one.
see so good? All I can
Glass,
see is some gray squiggles.
glass, glasses, and I had cataract surgery on both eyes.
Well, I'm getting ready to have that, so good.
I had the
That
same
makes me
thing
feel
as you
good.
did, and I'll tell you what, you're gonna love it when you walk into the ophthalmologist's office and you're the youngest person there. That made me feel so good
Oh, I know. I know.
because I got them really young too, and I don't know why.
Whenever he told me that I have cataracts, he stepped back like I was gonna swing on
Like you're
him.
gonna blow. How dare you?
Ah. So, anyway, I'm gonna let you read this one where it says disorder breakdown by gender because
Okay.
my eyes are just not working.
Okay. Okay. So the disorder breakdown by gender. So we've got anorexia nervosa. It's one that we're all familiar with.
Mhm.
Females, 0.5%,
Yeah.
and that's the prevalence. And then the lifetime prevalence is 0.9%. So almost 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Males per year is 0.3%. And this one, they only have the lifetime number. And that's from
Mhm.
bulimia.com and also from the National Institute of Health and Medicine, I think, the
Yeah, that's it.
NIH.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bulimia nervosa is about 0.5% for
Mhm.
females, 0.1% for males, and this is per year. So the
Yeah.
ratio is 5 to 1 for that. For anorexia, it's 3 to 1, women to men. Binge eating disorder, it goes up to 1.6% for females annually,
Mhm.
0.8%, almost 1% for men. So it's a 2 to 1 margin.
Mhm.
OSFED, I'm not sure I've
It's
ever
just
heard of that
another
one.
it's other it's like it'll tell about it, and it's like other basically,
Oh,
it's other forms of these,
it just
other
lumps the others
forms
together
of
into one.
yeah,
Okay.
and they'll divide them out in a little bit.
Oh, okay. So for females, it's 1.18% annually. For males, it's about 0.25% for a four to
Yeah.
one ratio. And then ARFID says it's more common in children, more males. General population estimates are 0.5 to 5%.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and the male versus female disparities, it says that men
okay.
are undiagnosed or underdiagnosed, sorry,
Hmm.
often due to gender stereotypes and assessment bias. So the problem being is that even doctors don't immediately think eating disorders when they're
Right.
talking to men. I mean, if a woman
Hmm.
like me, my oncologist mentioned it, I guarantee
Yeah.
you if you went to an oncologist and you had an eating disorder as a man,
Hmm.
that your oncologist is not gonna mention it to you. It'd be a miracle if any of your doctors did.
Yeah.
And I don't
Absolutely.
think that men even realize the prevalence of it.
And these
So
numbers
they're
might
gonna
not
get injured
seem
more.
these numbers
Yeah.
might not seem as shocking because these are annual stats and they're
Yeah.
broken out between men and women. But I was looking on a site called withinhealth.com and I sent you some
Mhm.
info on that. And the number that really just smacked me over the head was it said that a recent study estimated that about 10 million men and boys in the United States will experience an eating disorder at some point in their life.
Mhm.
10 million.
Yeah.
And that's just men and boys. That's not even counting
Yeah.
women. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is
28
not
million. Yeah, it's 28 million total.
total.
So
And I mean, this is not a
and
small
10 of
problem,
that is
guys.
men. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-uh.
This is not a small problem. This is a huge thing.
I mean, it's not I mean, even if it was a million, that's still a lot of people, but
That's a
it's
lot.
10 million men.
Hmm.
Think about that, 10 million.
Yeah. It's wild.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So that they say men are underdiagnosed. Whoops.
Oops, sorry. You want me to add that back? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're underdiagnosed.
Often due to
Yeah.
gender stereotypes and assessment bias. And by the way, these stats that we're reading come from mentalhealth.com.
Mhm.
Eating disorders present differently. Females often focus on thinness and purging, where
Mhm.
males may focus on muscularity, excessive exercise, or binge/purge behavior.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that some more too.
Yeah.
And then I have this one too that talks about who's at risk. Everybody's at risk, but they're gonna give you
Mhm.
the bigger, numbers,
Yeah.
which I thought these were very interesting too. And I actually got my sources
Mhm.
bigger on this one. I was looking at them all ago and I thought, okay, this one's big. Oh, well, you forgot to get that one. You forgot to, mark it to make it bigger. But
Mhm.
anyway, females age 12 to 25, especially with perfectionist traits, trauma, or social media exposure. And
Mhm.
males are at a higher risk if they participate in sports that emphasize weight, like wrestling or gymnastics. They identify as LGBTQ plus. There's up to a 3 to 4 times risk if they are in the
In that group, yeah.
LGBTQ. Can you imagine? That's a large jump.
That's a lot.
If you
Yeah.
because they're already lumped in that, in that with the men,
Mhm.
but then you add that in and there's 3 to 4 times more. Ugh. If they have a history of trauma or body shaming, and that's the Eating Recovery Center.
Mhm.
But, anyway, the key takeaways, cognitive is thinness for females, thinness is the ideal, obsessive calorie tracking. In males, it's muscle obsession, size anxiety. Men will worry about what number does that waist on their jeans say?
Right.
They're worrying about that. And women, we like those small sizes, but women's sizes are so crazy anyway that I mean, I can wear 3 or 4 different sizes and they fit exactly
Mhm.
the same. So
Yep.
we're just kind of we just mainly just go for what we look at, what we see. The thinner the better. Just the, you
Right.
know.
Mhm.
So emotionally, women suffer with guilt and shame and control issues, and men, it's with anger and like suppression, substance abuse, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Physical, they women restrict their eating, they purge, they binge, where men, their biggest thing is that they will do excessive training and take a lot of supplements and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then, women's their peak risk is 13 to 25, and men, it's from 40 to 30, and especially athletes in the LGBTQ community, but it doesn't drop drastically. It drops a little bit, but it doesn't drop drastically, and I think I've got one in here that takes it out further.
Mhm.
So, I hope anyway.
Mm.
So, there's that one. Trying to go through these fairly quick. I
Mhm.
made them a little bit smaller so, not as much information so that they'd be bigger on the screen.
Yeah.
So, this blew my mind. Prevalence of eating disorders has more than doubled globally from, um well, I can't read that. Can you see
No.
what's behind? Okay. But anyway, to n oh, it was between 2018 and now. Anyway, it's
Oh,
7.8%
okay.
of the population. Can
Mm.
you believe that? It's just like
And
it's
that's the world
doubling. Wh
population. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That is
increasing
insane.
exponentially.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Men's rates are rising faster than women's. And it is, I mean, partly due to better recognition and reduced stigma. And that's in
Mhm.
health menshealth.com.
Mental health, actually, yeah.
Menshealth.com is an amazing, yeah,
Mhm.
mentalhealth.com. But Men's Health is another one that I do uh, look at a lot, and they are excellent. They're excellent sources on men's mental health stuff and physical health.
Yeah,
So yeah, this one was mental health, but
we talked about it in a previous live that
yeah.
every time I check to see what resources there are out there for men, it seems to have doubled since the last time. So that's good. The
Mhm.
word is getting out. So that's the important thing. So the key
This really just
takeaways.
Yeah.
You want
This
heard
upset
that
me. No, go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
women are approximately 2 to 5 times more likely to be diagnosed than men, depending on the disorder. Men are likely underrepresented due to stigma, gender bias, and diagnostic criteria. Mortality is alarmingly high across genders. Early detection and treatment are crucial. Yes,
And
agreed.
it's just agreed, absolutely.
Mhm,
And okay, now there's 2 pages of these, and
mhm.
it's gonna list I'm gonna let you read them though,
Okay.
because it lists these are the most common
The
eating
most
disorders.
common.
So
Yeah,
it's not just anorexia and bulimia. There are several. And in
mhm,
fact, I think there's 5 listed on these first 2 pages, and then I list another 5 or 6, I think, on later on. So
mhm.
it's crazy. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Alright, so as it breaks it down, anorexia nervosa, which is probably the one we're the most familiar with, what it
Mhm.
is, it's a severe restriction of food intake, intense fear of gaining weight, distorted self-image, often leading to dangerously low body weight.
Mhm.
The lifetime prevalence for women is 0.9%, almost 1% of all women.
Mhm.
Men, it's
All women.
0.3% for a 3-to-1 ratio. And
Yeah.
that is coming from the nationaleatingdisorders.org website and also the National Institute of Men's Health.
Mhm.
The 1-year rate is 0.16% for women, 0.09% for men.
And remember that number on the men
Mm,
is growing. I bet they're gonna
right.
pass us. I bet men are gonna pass us
I wouldn't be
because men,
surprised. Yeah, because we're
they
so
are so
underdiagnosed.
and so much about control and
Mhm.
controlling everything, and so it just looks like it would absolutely be something that I
Yep.
mean, because a lot of these eating disorders are so much about control,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
And then bulimia nervosa, excuse me,
Mhm.
which is probably the other big one that we are all
Mhm.
aware of, is a recurrent binge eating episodes followed by compensatory behaviors like vomiting, fasting, taking laxatives, or excessive exercise.
Mhm.
Body weight often remains in normal range. So
Isn't
that's
that
more
crazy?
about it's more about maintaining than it is,
Mhm.
losing. And the lifetime
Well, because
prevalence.
even when you're eating this is what my sister had it. My sister
Mhm,
was bulimic. And so, when she would purge or I mean, binge,
mhm.
and then you purge, well, you think that you get rid of everything that you eat, but you
No,
don't. And
no,
so some
calories
of
get
it
in.
has already yeah, calories get in, and so that's
Mhm,
why it is harder to actually lose weight with
right.
bulimia. It's more about control, and when
Yeah,
you binge, you've lost control, and then
mhm.
you purge to get that control
To
back.
get the control
So
back,
she
yeah.
she would eat completely
Mhm,
normal, and then she would, and a binge can be that she ate a candy bar or she had a bowl of ice cream or something, or
right.
that can start it, and then it's like, "Well, I screwed up," and then just, eat
Mhm,
everything,
yeah.
and then get rid of it. And so she struggled with her weight. She died because of that Fin diet. She died trying to lose weight.
Oh,
And she was smaller than I am now, but she saw herself as huge, which I do
mhm,
myself. I know I'm not a small person, but I know what size I am.
yeah.
But when I look at myself, I see somebody that's literally twice my size, like
Mm,
double my weight. That's what I see.
right,
And so she did too. We have that in common. So,
yeah.
but anyway, sorry.
Okay, so the lifetime prevalence for women is approximately 1%. For men, it's 0.1%. The 1-year rate for women is 0.32%, and for men, it's 0.05.
But I
And
still just think
then
that those are crazy statistics. That's a lot of people.
yeah, it
That's a
doesn't seem
lot.
like when you're looking at it from a percentage standpoint, you think, well,
Yeah.
0.05, that's not a lot, but
But
that's point
28
zero for
million?
right, that's 0.05 of a total population of people, so you gotta
Yeah.
bear that in mind.
Yeah. I
And
kept
then
wanting it to list as that other one that listed the 28 million. And that's why I wanted to list that slide first because I wanted everybody to still keep that 28 million people in the
Right.
US.
Yeah. You
So
gotta
when you're
keep that in
seeing
the
these
back of
other
your head.
numbers,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
And then binge eating disorder. Now, binge eating disorder is one that I'm very familiar with because it's something that I've
mhm,
struggled with in the past.
yeah,
And I'll talk a little bit about that when the time is right. But
absolutely. You
so
whenever
that's
you're ready,
yeah.
anytime.
Okay. So that's defined as recurring binge eating with loss of control without compensatory purging, often
Mhm,
associated with overweight slash obesity.
mhm,
And the prevalence lifetime for women is 1.53%. For men, it's 0.26%, which is a 6 to 1 ratio. And the 1 year rate for women is almost 1%, which is crazy high. Men, it's about a quarter of a percent. It accounts
mhm.
for 47% of all eating disorders.
Isn't that crazy?
57% of binge eating disorder sufferers are female. So that one's pretty close. But again, you might be
Yeah,
right. We may find out that men pass women at some
I
point
know.
just
I
because they're
really
so
expect it. And, I'm not a
underrepresented
doctor.
and
I'm not a
underdiagnosed.
doctor, but it has doubled. It just keeps doubling. So how
Yeah,
many doubles is it gonna take before you pass this? And
right.
I think it's about control, and I think it's gonna be the ones that
Mhm.
are about control where you lose control and you
Yeah.
do something, and then
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
me, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anyone else that's suffered with it, but, for me, binge eating kinda manifests itself as an indication of my state of mind at the
Mhm,
time. So, like we talked about in previous lives, men often don't have the outlets that women have for talking about um, emotional things,
mhm,
about their feelings. And so they keep things bottled up. And it manifests itself in a lot of different ways when it finally comes out. It can be extreme anger, bouts of anger, depression,
mhm.
uh, substance abuse, alcoholism, those sorts of things, because we don't have another way out with the emotions. And binge eating is a huge one. I've often found I've battled with my weight for 20 years easily,
Wow,
but
mhm. Me too.
I've really battled with it with yo-yoing probably in the last 5, I would say, like really bad.
Mhm,
And I talked to a friend one time who was telling me about um, intermittent fasting,
mhm,
which is when you go, a certain number of
it's
hours without eating anything, and then you eat
mhm,
a decent meal, and then, the cycle starts over again. So
yeah,
how it worked for me was I would go 22 hours off, and then I would have a 2-hour window to eat, and then right back
mhm,
to fasting again. So basically, it
mhm,
was just I ate dinner every night, and that was it.
mhm,
I didn't eat anything else. And it got really frustrating for me because I got into a pattern of doing that, and I felt really comfortable about it. My
mhm.
wife would say to me, "How can you go all day long without eating, and it doesn't seem to bother you at all?" And I said,
Yeah, I
"Because
do
it's a
too.
mindset. It's a mindset."
Mhm,
So this was right before we started a keto diet together because we've both had weight problems our whole lives. And somebody said intermittent fasting, so I wanted to try it. She couldn't do it because
yeah,
she can't fathom going 22 hours without eating anything.
mhm,
And I fell into it really easily, surprisingly.
yeah,
I mean, I have a busy enough job that
yeah,
my days are pretty busy. And so I would often forget to eat
I do
anyway,
too.
So it really wasn't that big of an adjustment for me. But what I found was as you get older and your metabolism slows down, your body is in constant survival mode. So when
Mhm,
you intermittent fast, those 22 hours that you're not eating, your body is storing fat because it thinks you're
mhm,
starving. And then you eat, and then those calories get added to it too.
and
So
it stores
now
those.
right. So I'm 6'7". I'm a pretty tall guy, but at one point, I weighed 340 pounds. And that was
Wow.
not long ago. That was like a year and a half ago. And that was,
But at
that was
that
before,
height, you know.
and that's before I got sick and had to have
Yeah.
surgery, and because I started having internal issues with my digestive
Mhm.
system because of what I
Well,
was doing
yeah.
to it. And that, coupled with the fact that I was having problems in my marriage, and that was causing me depression, and that depression was manifesting itself as eating, just eating
Mhm.
for comfort,
Yeah.
eating to not feel so terrible anymore. And and I know other people that have had issues with binge eating before too. Um, one of the things for me that worked for me, and it's kind of why intermittent fasting helped in a way, was that I noticed that it's not until I eat that first thing. Once I
Mhm.
eat that first thing, like say I have breakfast. So if I eat breakfast, I'm going to be eating all day long.
Me too.
It's like a trigger for me. So,
Mhm.
but I could go all day long without eating and not give it a second thought. It's really weird how the mind works,
Mhm.
Um, but as soon as I would get depressed, like we all have that image in our mind of that rom-com movie where the woman is depressed and she's sitting on the couch eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs or whatever,
Yeah.
and it makes people think that that's how all women are wired, that whenever they're
Yeah.
sad, they just eat.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
but it's sad because there are a lot of women out there, and men too,
Mhm.
and I'm one of them, that's their immediate response to
Yeah.
depression or sadness is to
Well, and
grab
it's their
something to
body
eat.
doing it. It's,
Mhm.
it's their mind and their body doing it. They're not just like, you know,
And then
they're
the
not
and then
just
the other
thinking, "Well, I think I'll go eat this." It's their body is craving it so much, their
Right,
mind
and
and their body.
again, it's like we go back to all the time, Susie, we're always talking about your mind is powerful enough that it
Yeah,
controls your body, it really does,
absolutely.
and that depression immediately tells your body it's time to eat.
Mhm.
And another thing that doesn't get talked about enough about this whole thing is that you could still binge eat, but it's like the way we're set up as a country, and I don't know if the rest of the world is like this because I'm not a world traveler, but the way things are set up is that the cheapest foods that you can buy in this country are the worst ones for you, and the healthy
Absolutely.
foods are the most expensive. We went to somebody took me to a Whole Foods one time.
Oh
I had
gosh.
never been. I just wanted to check it out. And I started nicknaming it Whole Paycheck because my God, things are so expensive there.
Yeah,
And it's like
it
you
is. It is
literally could blow a
insane.
whole week's pay on just a week's worth of groceries at that place.
Mhm.
And that's
Absolutely.
wrong. We as a nation need to change
You
that.
know, and it is no, wonder that the poorest of our country are the
Mhm.
heaviest of our country,
Yeah, absolutely.
because
I
these
mean,
people are just trying to keep their kids fed. They're trying to keep their
right.
bellies full where they're not hungry. They're
Yeah,
not
so let's
trying to feed them the worst.
right.
When we were my first husband and I, we were broke a lot the first, I don't know, 8 years or so of our marriage,
Mhm.
and it literally was about the better choice of the bad, you know?
Yeah. The
Like,
lesser of
I would
however many evils, yeah.
yeah, I would try to get the lesser evil, and
Yeah.
and not the good, and it's just like, it was I don't know, it's awful because that is a fact that the poorest of our country are the heaviest.
Well, when I was a kid, we were pretty poor too, and
Mhm.
my poor mother, bless her heart, would take us to McDonald's 2 or 3 times a week because she could feed all of us for, like,
Yeah.
$20.
Oh, I know.
And
You can't
that's
yeah,
sad. It's so sad.
it is
And
sad.
I'm like that
It's
as an adult.
awful.
I'm like that as an
Mhm.
adult. If I have a bad day at work and I'm feeling bad about myself, I'll swing right into McDonald's parking lot,
Mhm.
order off the value menu, and for $7, I can just eat
Yeah.
myself stupid.
The
And
one
yeah.
thing that works good for me, I guess, in one way, it's not.
Mhm.
It doesn't work good for me.
Yeah.
But where, like, you're saying, like, that if you're depressed or, what that you want that comfort of eating kind of a
Yeah.
deal.
Mhm.
Me, if I'm depressed or something, I can't eat. Like, I will
Mm.
throw it up. Like, I will swallow a bite and it will come immediately back up. If I'm
Mhm.
depressed, mad, sad, even like
Yeah.
excited, even really happy. Even if I'm
Mhm.
really happy, I cannot eat. And I don't that's another thing that made my doctor be like, you know.
I was just gonna say, that is anorexic behavior. It really is your
Yes.
body responding like that. Huh,
Yeah.
that's
Now I
interesting.
don't eat and purge. That's not I don't do that. I don't
Right.
purposely do that.
No, but your
But
body is doing it automatically. It's telling you,
yeah, yeah,
not
like
today.
I don't even it's like it doesn't even get all the way down. Like I swallow and it comes back up if
Mhm.
I'm upset or something. So,
Yeah.
there's just no sense in even trying. So I don't
Hmm.
because I do not want to throw up. It's like the thing
Oh,
that
no.
I think because, my sister and everything, I think that there's like that mental, thing.
Yeah, that you have
So
that
I don't
gene.
want to.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
so I don't want to do that, which, anyway, so
That's
let
how
me
I
see
feel
what
about
this one
alcohol.
is.
I come from
Yeah.
4
Oh, here's some
generations of
more of the,
alcoholics, so
yeah, here's three more of the
Okay.
types.
OSFED or other specified
Others.
feeding or eating disorder. Okay.
Yeah.
What it is, a catch-all for clinically significant eating disturbances not meeting full criteria. For example,
Hmm.
atypical anorexia, night eating syndrome, purging disorder.
Yeah.
Prevalence, the 1-year prevalence for women is 1.18%. Oh, wow. Men, 0.27% for a 4-to-1 ratio. OSFED
Get this
actually
one though.
represents the most common category overall. So that's basically the catch-all. All
Yeah.
right, and then
And that's because
AR.
they're saying that we don't all fit. There are people that sometimes they reduce calories, sometimes they purge, sometimes they eat too it can be a
A
combination of all of it.
combination, yeah, right,
Yeah. And that
okay,
the most people are doing some kind of combination and they think, "Well, I don't have an eating disorder because I do this, but I don't do that." You know?
right. So I'm
And
not
that's not
fully one of them, I'm just
Yeah.
partially, yeah,
I'm
right,
just headed
yeah,
that way, but no, you very well may
okay,
be.
okay, and
Anyways.
then we have ARFID, which is avoidant/restrictive food intake disorder, which is the
Mhm.
avoidance or restriction of food intake without body image concerns due to
Mhm.
texture, fear of choking, or lack of interest.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that sounds like what you were talking about earlier. Sometimes you just don't feel hungry and you're just like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I'm gonna not eat." And then you find
Mhm.
yourself skipping more and more meals, and yeah, it
Mhm.
becomes a problem.
My
So
mom was like this a lot. She would just she as she got older and she was sick, she just
mhm,
lost interest in food, nothing tasted good to her, she started being afraid of choking, uh,
mm,
that kind of thing, she just had a lot of problems, but anyway, then, like, she would eat a cookie, and I'd
mhm.
be like, "Did you eat today?" And she'd be like, "I had a cookie." I'm like, "Mom, first of all, she's diabetic, so not eating in the
Oh,
first place
no.
was terrible." And
Right.
then well, she had type 2, but
Mhm.
anyway, not eating at all was terrible, but then when you do eat, to eat a
Eat
cookie.
something with sugar in it, yeah, not
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. And another thing, I don't know how prevalent this is. You may know better than I do because you probably have more female friends than I do, but I noticed that there are a lot of women out there that have a problem with textures.
Mhm.
Um, they'll say, I'll say, "Oh, I really like this," and they'll be like, "Oh, no, it's a texture thing
Yeah,
for me. I just can't." So,
yeah.
like slimy foods, like seafood, like I know,
I don't have a problem with those, but I can't eat things like, bananas. I
oh,
can't
really?
handle the texture,
Really?
or lack of probably,
Oh,
and
that's probably, yeah, lack of.
yeah,
But I
like,
know
I
women,
just I can't handle it.
I know some
I
women that
don't
don't like
like anything
lumpy
that
foods.
feels yeah, like, if it feels, like, mushy at all,
Mhm.
I will gag on it.
Hmm.
I mean, and it's not the taste. It can
No.
taste amazing, but the
Hmm.
minute that I feel that mushy, done.
Huh. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
All right. And so the prevalence of that is a 0.5% to 5%. It's more common in
Mhm.
children with relatively equal gender distribution. And
Yeah.
any of you out there who are parents know that kids
Yes.
can be such picky eaters. And so a lot of
Mhm.
times they'll refuse to
It's it
eat rather than eat
yeah,
what's put in front of them. So,
and it may be something like this with some
mhm.
kind of a texture
Could
issue
be
or
a
something
texture
or
issue. Yeah.
yeah, or a fear of choking, you know,
Yep.
because kids are not great at necessarily. I mean, they're young, they're kids. That's the whole point.
Mhm.
They're not great at pinpointing why they don't want it. They're just like, I don't like it. If
I
they don't
just don't
want it,
like
they
it.
just,
Yeah.
I don't like it. You know.
Right.
And so they're not saying, "I don't like how it feels in my mouth," or "I'm afraid I'm gonna choke on it," or,
Right.
"I just don't
I
like it."
just don't like it. Yeah.
So mhm,
And then the other less common disorders, which are classified as DSM-5, include pica, rumination disorder, night eating syndrome. Um,
I could
and
move that.
yeah, just for a second. Orthorexia, not
Mhm,
formally DSM-5 recognized, but widely discussed, and subthreshold forms.
mhm. And we're
Mm,
gonna talk about those too. So they
Okay. I
they
was
come
gonna say
into
I'm
the
not
other ones
familiar
that I'm
with
gonna
them.
talk about. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna talk about those too.
All right.
Um, anyway, let's see here.
Mm.
There they are. Or some of
All
them. I
right.
got the on the
Yeah.
next slides, the rest of them.
Okay. Well, this is all about learning, so let's learn.
Yeah.
We're going to learn together on these. So, pica is
Mhm,
a compulsive eating of non-food items. For example, dirt, paper, hair for more than a month,
mhm.
inappropriate for the person's age.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
I don't know.
I've heard of that. People who eat
I have too.
hair. Oh,
Yeah, I don't do it, but I have heard of people. I know people that do it.
so it says,
You'll see young girls a lot of times with their hair in their mouth. They're
yeah.
eating hair. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they act like it's just that they're just being silly, but
Right.
if but they will actually sometimes get like a fur ball like a cat does.
I always thought it was like a nervous condition, like a tick or something. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's more to it than that.
Actually, yeah, I
So
think
the
it's actually an
prevalence
eating
of it,
disorder.
yeah, it says up to 1.1% of adults in the UK have pica.
Hmm.
I wonder why the
Yeah, I
prevalence
don't know
is
why,
higher
but it
there.
is high in the UK.
Hmm,
I did read that one.
that's
Yeah.
odd. And recurrent forms appear in 1.08% of adults.
Yeah.
That's interesting. The second one is rumination disorder, which is defined as repeated regurgitation of food into the mouth, which is
Ugh.
oh God, I don't even know if
Yeah.
I can read that,
Yeah, we all
which is
get it. We're gonna go to the
rechewed,
next.
re-swallowed, or spat out, not due to a medical condition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you
And
get
the
it.
recurrence
I
of
that
that
one just
is
was like,
almost 3/4% of adults have that.
which
Wow.
is crazy. That's a lot of
It's
people.
that's a lot.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
mhm.
Okay, let's get past that one.
Yeah,
Purging
we can
disorder.
pass
That
that
one
one.
gave me
If
that one
you've
gave me
got
the
that,
willies.
we're not shaming you, but
No,
bless your
but
heart. You're not
yeah,
alone.
exactly. So purging
Ooh.
disorder is defined as recurrent purging behaviors, i.e.,
Mhm.
vomiting or laxatives without binge eating.
Mhm.
The impact, it causes major medical issues, electrolyte imbalance, dental erosion, cardiac and GI problems.
See,
Huh.
that's what my sister actually did, was she occasionally would binge eat, but it
Mm-hmm.
was not like what they consider binge eating. It was just that when you're not eating anything and then all of a sudden you eat something, it looks like
Right.
purging or like binging.
So
But
a
no,
normal behavior would look
she would
extreme.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
night that she died, she ate most of a normal size
Mm-hmm.
homemade taco salad and went immediately to the bathroom and threw it up.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
that was a common thing with her,
That's so
just
sad.
regular food.
And then the
So a lot
prevalence
of
of
times she just wouldn't eat so that she wouldn't do that.
right. That's so sad. So the
Mhm.
prevalence of that is estimated at 1 to 5% in the general adult population.
Mm,
Yeah. That's
that's a
man,
lot of people
staggering.
doing that.
And then
Mhm.
lastly is night eating syndrome or NES, which is defined as recurrent episodes of eating after waking or excessive nighttime caloric intake with sleep disturbance.
Mhm.
Um, Now
A lot of people don't even know.
yeah,
A lot of people don't even know they're eating.
I've never woken up in the night to eat, but I do have a bad habit of eating right before I go to bed, and
Yeah, I do too.
it does, guys, it causes sleeping problems. I have so many sleep issues.
Mhm.
I've gotten to a point now where I have to take gummies at night or I can't sleep.
Mhm.
I just can't. But I am
Yeah.
starting to learn. My doctor told me that you should not eat anything if you're a normal 9 to 5 worker, or a normal life when you're up during the day and you sleep in the
Yeah.
evening. You shouldn't eat anything after 6 p.m. Eat or drink. You can have water, but don't drink pop or coffee or anything like that, and don't eat after 6 p.m. and it
Mm.
helps. So I'm working
See,
towards
I'm
that.
I'm one of those how you were talking about that whenever see, I will go hours and hours and sometimes days without eating.
Mm,
But then when I do eat, then I wanna eat. Like, so, like, I might eat a little something. It's like
yeah,
not like I eat a great big meal, but, like, if
right.
I eat a little a little something,
Hmm.
and then a little bit later, I wanna eat a little something again, or a
Right.
little something else, and then a little something el and it's all little,
Sure.
but I wanna do that, and so what I've found myself doing now, and it's wrong, again,
Hmm.
but you know how you try to, like, fix it without fixing it, basically.
Right.
And so my idea of fixing it was that now I've started whenever I eat my little something in the evening, I eat late. And you all know that because you'll see me be online till, be on a show till 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then I'm going to go have
And then
dinner,
say I'm going to go have something to eat. Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Doctor
so
said
what
that's
I
terrible
do
for you.
is that if I eat then once I go to bed, I won't get up and go eat.
Right.
So that's my way of stopping those 2 or 3 little this little snack and that little snack and that little
Right.
snack, you know?
But in essence, all you're doing is replacing one bad behavior with another.
Yes. Yeah,
But it makes you
absolutely.
feel good in the moment. So,
At the moment,
yeah,
it's like fixing it without fixing it, basically.
right.
Now
Exactly.
here's some more of the less common ones. There's like 4 more, I think. Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot, aren't there? I had no idea
Yeah.
there were this many.
I
So
didn't either till I
ARFID,
started looking into it.
I think, didn't we already talk about that? Avoidance or restrictive food intake disorder. Restriction of eating for reasons other than body weight concerns, like
Mhm.
sensory avoidance or fear of choking.
Yeah,
Up to
that's another one of those.
5% prevalence, common in children and those with sensory-based avoidances. Wow,
Isn't
it's a
that
lot.
crazy?
Yeah. Orthorexia
5%.
nervosa. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um, Orthorexia nervosa is defined as obsessive fixation on healthy or pure eating rather than food quantity, though not DSM recognized, gaining widespread attention. And the prevalence of that varies from 6.9% of general populations in some studies, possibly up to
Mhm.
7%. Wow.
Plus over 7%.
Right. And so that's, you think of like your extreme, like I'll give you an example. I go to a chiropractor. Well, I used to go to a chiropractor. Um, and they were a husband and wife couple.
Mhm.
And they used to extol the virtues to me of raw veganism. So not
Yeah.
just vegans, but they only eat raw vegetables.
Yeah.
And and they were like really diehard extreme about it.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of obsessive fixation that they're
Yeah.
talking about on pure eating. I won't
Yeah.
eat anything that has this in it or that in it. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that becomes restrictive too, because if they don't have what you want, you won't eat anything.
Mhm. Yeah.
6.9 to 7% of the general
Yeah.
population. Wow.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. Okay, then you got
Yeah.
sleep related eating disorder, which is defined as being partially conscious eating during sleep. Oh my goodness. Like
Yeah.
sleepwalking without full awareness. Wow. Sleep eating. A
Yeah.
few percent in general population, around a half percent to 4.7%.
That's a lot
Wow.
of people. And they
That is
said
a
what's
lot of
whoops,
people.
there I went again, dropping a stick. A lot of this is
Hmm.
being made worse by Ambien.
Oh, yeah. God, I hadn't even
People take
thought of that.
Ambien,
Yeah.
and then
And
they
it makes
and
you
then they start
catatonic.
yeah, and you're
Wow.
up cooking meals and everything, and you don't even know it. You
Holy
know what, I
mackerel.
guess, in the moment, like, you're,
Hmm.
aware enough because you know what to do,
Yeah.
but
It's just
but you're
ingrained
not
in your
really
head,
aware.
though. Right.
Yeah, yeah, but they said that that
Hmm.
one is a lot because a lot of people with Ambien and those kind of things, that take
Wow.
Ambien and stuff
I
do
hadn't
that a
even
lot.
thought of
So
that.
that raises the number. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, they're talking about chewing and spitting, CHSP, which is defined as chewing food but spitting it out to avoid calories or ingestion, sometimes classified under OSFED. So
Mhm.
basically, you're purging without actually swallowing it
Yeah.
and then having to throw up. So you just chew
But
it, you
see,
get the
I
taste
can't do
of it,
I
and then you
tried
spit
that
it out.
too.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I tried that too. I do that. If I spit out food that I've chewed, I throw
Uh-huh.
up. It gags me to
Oh,
spit
wow.
to spit out. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
Just
a little
as
bit.
you know,
And
like
not
even
only
if you get like if you take a bite that's a little bit too big and so you
Mhm.
spit it into a napkin or
Sure.
something, that
Yeah,
makes me then throw up.
or you bite something that just you thought was gonna taste a certain way and it just didn't, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
not
no."
bad, just wasn't what you wanted, and yeah,
Yeah. That
but
makes
yeah,
you go? That makes you
if
throw
I
up? Wow.
chew anything and then spit it out, I throw up.
Huh.
So and
Wow.
I take these teeny tiny little bites, okay, like a tortilla chip, like at a restaurant.
Sure.
To me, 1 tortilla chip is like 8 tortilla chips. I break them into tiny little pieces, and,
Really?
I mean, it's this tiny little amount, and so it looks like I'm eating the
Right.
whole time, but really, I get a plate with 3 enchiladas on it, and I eat half an enchilada, and each chip is 8 chips
Uh,
because I break it in pieces.
Now is that because you know that you have that tendency to that gag reflex, that overactive gag reflex,
It's
or is
kind
it
of both. It's kind of
Oh,
both, like, I'm trying to restrict what I'm eating, but I still wanna eat it 'cause I like
okay.
it,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to restrict what I eat, but also because I'm afraid I'm gonna gag or,
Right.
and then I'm gonna throw up, and
Right.
I don't wanna do that. So it's like
No,
I have
nobody
this
wants
weird kind of mixture of I am screwed up.
Hmm.
I am screwed up. I'm not even kidding.
You're
So
neuro
I wanna
spicy, as
go
we like to say.
yeah. I'm gonna
That's
go
an
grab a
interesting
couple of
one.
these others really quick. I'm
Okay.
telling you, it's crazy. I do some crazy, crazy things.
Hmm. Well,
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't necessarily say they're crazy. I just think
no,
they're
but
symptomatic of
yeah,
something else, of something
yeah,
bigger.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's this one. Okay, emotional patterns, physical
Mm,
behaviors, that kind of thing. And these break down. So this is going to be really interesting for you all that might think that you have a little something going on. So
yeah.
or that you know
So
somebody that does.
and this will go to, what we're talking about and how men
Mhm.
process these things differently. So
And
this
these are overall, so they're not talking about just anorexia, just bulimia, just, any of
right,
those. This is an
right.
overall.
An overall
So,
image of okay. So
yeah.
the emotional patterns for females is greater guilt, shame, and anxiety surrounding food and body image,
Mhm.
which makes sense. Um, Emotional eating more often tied to coping with rejection, trauma, or control issues.
Well, what's the
And
thing that if a woman if somebody wants to insult, especially, like, if they wanna insult a woman that is, like, a stay-at-home mom,
Mhm,
they'll say she lays up on the couch and watches soap operas and eats bonbons all day. Now, is that what
right.
she's doing? No, she's taking care of
No,
those kids and cleaning the house and cooking and but yet my husband will ask me, "What did you do today?" And I'll be like, "Nothing." When I did clearly
20
a
things,
lot.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that's why women have so much guilt and shame and
Mhm,
anxiety about it is because we
sure.
think we do that. We think if we're not out, you know, busting our ass in the, real world, so to speak, that we're
Right.
laying on the couch eating bonbons. That's what we
Well, and
think.
it's like what we were talking about the other night with men, is that men have this, preconceived notion in their minds that their sole uh, measure of their worth in life is how much they work and how much money they make,
Mhm.
how they're able to
Absolutely.
provide for their family. And if you think that women don't feel the same thing, you're
Yeah, we
crazy,
do,
because
but
of course they do. If anything, they might feel it even more. Now,
mhm.
nowadays, it's probably less prevalent because you've got so many dual income families where both,
Mhm.
partners are working.
Yeah.
But in families where the wife's responsibility is to take care of the kids, there's
Mhm.
got to be all kinds of
Yeah.
shame and anxiety. Well, if I don't do this, 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 and this, then I didn't have a successful day. And
I
yeah.
do that to myself, like, I will if I buy something for
Hmm.
myself, I will calculate how many hours or how many half
Oh,
hours or, whatever that
yeah.
Mark had to work for me to be able to afford that.
Oh, wow.
And and so I will sit and break down everything into how long he had to work to pay for it. And
And
yeah,
all that's doing is just putting more mental anguish on
yeah,
you.
yeah. So women we do have those
Yeah,
fears too. It's
sure.
just different. It manifests itself different.
Hmm.
But anyway, so
And then for men, they're more likely to externalize distress, anger, substance abuse, compulsive exercising, the same things that
mhm,
we seem to hit over and over and over again,
over and over and over.
just because men can't get it out. They can't express their
Mhm,
feelings. And they also have a higher risk of underreporting emotional turmoil due to stigma. And
mhm,
that's from the Journal of Men's Health, which we know is a reputable source,
mhm.
as
I
all of
love the
these
Journal
are.
of Men's Health. I love
Mhm.
that.
And
Yeah, I
then,
always tell everybody, when I'm looking at, like, news type things, I don't look at Fox, but I also don't look at CNN. There's, like, you know,
mhm,
when I'm looking for an unbiased, I really try to go to the ones that really are the most unbiased, or at least go get
right.
some from both sides,
Yeah,
whatever. But on
absolutely. Sure.
these, we just know what ones are, reputable.
Well, and
So,
a lot of that comes from, you know, uh, being a former newspaper person.
mhm.
You take a lot. I know you personally behind the scenes, and I know that you take a lot of pride in your ability to do research and to
Oh, yeah.
weed out the bullshit from the actual facts. So I have
On
no
both
doubt.
sides, even if I don't like it,
Yeah,
even, I can separate myself from it, even if I don't like the fact that what I'm finding. It's still a
sure.
fact.
Exactly. One of the things that
So
makes a good journalist is their objectivity. And if you
now,
can't have that,
if I was doing an editorial, that was gonna be what the hell I thought, and people,
well, yeah, but
you
that's what
know
it's designed to be. It's designed to be an
Yeah,
opinion piece. So,
yeah, yeah.
that's why they separate it
But
out.
anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
And then when we're talking about physical behaviors, for women, they typically engage
Mhm,
in restriction, purging, binge purge cycles, or
mhm,
consequences, including amenorrhea, low bone density, and severe fatigue. And that's from the
mhm.
Mayo Clinic, and it doesn't get any more reputable than that. Now, for men, their behavior centers on excessive protein and supplement use.
Mhm.
Women, how many men
They're always trying to build
and
those
men
muscles.
and men too. How many men out there have friends who are obsessed with protein powders and have these, 50-gallon drums of protein and
Yeah.
stuff that they take, and they're obsessed with it. I know quite a few myself.
Well,
Um,
even, I hate to mention her, but even Reese said that, her son has a closet full of those, deals of protein powders, and I'm like, "He's 15."
yeah, and it's
But I
because
understand, I'm not saying that against her. I'm not even
no,
saying that against her.
no,
I'm
because it's
saying
it's the
that's
culture now.
yes, yeah,
It
absolutely.
probably was just one boy on his baseball team or something at school saying,
Mhm.
"Ah, dude, you need to start taking this. You'll get
Yeah,
huge." And,
yeah.
for men, that's really what it's about. It's about bulking up and getting as big as you can be and
But yet
being
thin.
muscular and having a six pack and all that, but having a waist that's, 8
Yeah,
inches around.
like that, the whole
Right.
V, like they shape like a
Exactly.
V, teeny tiny,
Mhm.
and then they're problem being, guys.
Just like women who are looking at all those
Yeah,
models in those magazines, it's not
yeah.
achievable.
The
It's
thing
not.
is that that's not even what most women want, and in all honesty, a lot of what women think men want is not what they want
That's
either.
not what they want, yeah, and it goes
Mm-mm.
right back to what we've been all
Yeah,
roads lead back to communication, guys. No matter what we're talking
absolutely.
about, it's all about talking about it.
Talk to
So
your spouse, talk to your
mhm,
friends, talk to, everybody. We need to talk to each other. We need
yeah,
to talk to each other.
and you will find out how silly those things that you've had in your head for so long really are.
Yeah, because if I see some big muscly guy, I'm just like, "Nah, that's okay." you know?
Right, you just automatically think douchebag.
Yeah, I do.
Because most
Yeah,
of them
dick
are,
swinger.
or what did we used to call them? Swinging dicks. Big swinging
Yeah,
dicks. You
yeah,
know?
that's what I think, I
Exactly.
do.
Exactly.
I like,
So
I don't want him, I want him to be healthy, you know? I
mhm,
don't want him to be so large that he is unhealthy, but, like, again, here I go with Reese. She
mhm,
was genuinely attracted to Jeff. She will tell you that, that she was genuinely attracted to him, and he
mhm,
is a large man.
mhm.
I'm not unattracted, to big men. I think that men are attractive for more than the neck down. I am
Sure.
attracted to this. And so
Right.
I get that with her. I get that she was, attracted to that, and I
Mhm.
understand that. And women need to under that I think men need to understand that women don't want you to be this. They want you, they're worried more about what's up here.
Right.
And the same with men. I think that men are increasingly more attracted to women that are, I don't know, softer and gentler
Mhm.
and not
Well,
hungry all the time,
I can't
not
I can't
not
speak for the
hangry.
young I can't speak for the younger generation, but I can tell you that the way I look at relationships has changed so much as I've gotten older.
Mhm, mhm.
Before, I can tell you when I was in my teens and 20s, it was all about looks for me. It was all
Yeah,
about
well,
if I look at a woman across the room and my eyes just bulge out of my head, that's the
yeah,
girl for me. I wouldn't have to
yeah,
say a word to her. But then
yeah.
as I got older, and I think a lot of women go through this too, because, like in high school, girls are always attracted to the jocks and the
Mhm.
football captain and stuff like that. But I think
Give
that
us
they
a few
realize,
years, and then we want the nerd.
yeah, they understand as life goes by that those guys are usually shallow and they have nothing to offer emotionally or
Yeah,
mentally. And as you get
yeah,
older, I think, especially women, I think women start to view men through what's in their heart, what's in their
yeah.
soul.
Their
How does he
head and their
treat
head and their
me?
heart. Yeah.
Yeah, how does he treat me? Is he a bright guy? Does he engage me in conversation?
Does he make
And I
me
think
laugh?
yeah, and I think men are like that too. I love me personally, I can't speak for all men, but I personally love a woman who has a kind heart, a
Mhm.
giving soul, and can make me laugh. And if you can do those 3
Yeah,
things, I'll be in love with you.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah. So, and then, it just goes back to what we were saying. So, excessive protein and supplement loss,
Mhm,
over exercising, occasional
mhm,
use of anabolic steroids,
mhm.
often underweight or normal weight with hidden disordered habits, just
Yeah,
trying to bulk up, trying to, and we
yeah.
mistakenly think that that's what women want, but they don't. Not all
And
of
for
them.
some reason, it was repeated over and over and over, and I didn't put it in there so much because I didn't wanna just, look like I was just obsessing on it.
Hmm.
But the, straight men seem to want to bulk up, they wanna be small, they wanna be a small size, but they want to be bulked and everything.
Right.
Now the gay men, they want to be very little. They wanna be very thin. They want that they wanna be cut. They want those muscles
Toned.
to
Yeah.
look good.
Toned, but
Yeah,
thin. Yeah.
but they don't want that. Now, there's always gonna be there's gonna be some that are different, but I'm talking statistically.
Right.
They want to be very thin, and I am, so many of my friends are gay men, and
Hmm.
it is true with every one of them. They are very fit, very thin. I
Hmm.
mean, I've got one friend that he was about to I'm not even joking. He called me one day and he was about to have a stroke because he had gotten up to a size 30 in the waist on his pants. I'm like,
I
"You are
would kill to
45
be a
years
size
old."
30.
I'm like, "You are 45 years old. You are a grown
Mhm,
ass man. Stop." I
mhm.
said, "You're perfect." I mean,
Yeah,
I think he's too thin, but I told
right.
him he was perfect. But
Mhm.
anyway, I mean, he does look perfect for him. If I
Sure.
was gonna, if I was looking for a husband, he would be too thin. But
Need a
But
little
he
meat on his bones.
I don't want him to be smaller than me. I don't
Right.
want
Yeah. Because that creates a whole nother situation.
it does. It truly does.
Right.
Oh, so let me see what this next one is.
Okay.
Well, I think that's the same one I just had. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That's the one I just had. Okay. Oh, here it is. Me and these buttons. Okay, let's see here. Ugh. Okay, here's the second one on it's the ending of the patterns. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cognitive
Cognitive.
behaviors.
All right. These are big enough for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Females want the thin, ideal internalization is more common. Women often fixate on weight loss and slimness. That's what we do. We just want to be
Mhm.
slim, you know.
Wanna look like that woman in the
Perfectionism.
magazine.
Yep.
Mhm.
Body dissatisfaction and obsessive thoughts around calorie intake and strong or are strong predictors. Absolutely. I at all times can just about tell you how many calories I've had in a day.
Mhm.
It, and I am obsessed with it. Like, I might not talk about it. You might not ever realize that I'm obsessing over calories or the number on the scale or any of those things.
Mhm.
But I am. And I will get if I do not stop myself, I will weigh myself anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day
Oh, wow.
and stress if that number is not, if it moves up a few ounces,
Mhm.
I'm completely freaked out.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's weird. So I have started it's taken a while, but I weigh once a week now
Yeah, I've
and
been doing that for a
usually in the
while too.
morning.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what I have to do is I have to actually not hide the scale because I'm the one that put it there. I know where it's at, but it has to be like under something so that I don't
Yeah,
see it.
right.
So it, kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. We used to have ours in the kitchen, and I had to move it because I
Yeah.
would walk by the kitchen every morning, see it, pull it out, stand on it, and then just
Mhm.
it would
Mhm.
ruin my whole day.
It would ruin your day. At least
Oh.
now it only ruins my one day. One day a week.
Right.
And so that was the American Psychiatric Association in an article in 2022.
Mhm.
So in males, they're more likely to exhibit muscle dysmorphia, obsession with size, tone, and masculinity. Again, they want to have that look.
Mhm.
Even I know that this sounds funny, like weird funny.
Strange, yeah.
Yeah. But around here, with all the cowboys and everything that are in Oklahoma and Texas and everything,
Mhm.
these guys, they want that they used to say years ago, they would say, "Wrangler butts drive me nuts." Like well,
Wrangler jeans, yeah.
now yeah, for Wrangler jeans, they want their butt to look a certain way
Mhm.
in these jeans,
Mhm.
and my brother will stand in front of a mirror when he's trying on a new pair of jeans, and he don't
First
look
thing
at
they do is
anything
turn
other
around.
than to see what
Look
that
at
butt
that
looks
ass,
like.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's gotta look a certain way, and he'll,
yeah.
like, move certain ways and everything. He'd kill me if he hears me saying this,
I got
but
I
he
got over that.
does.
I got over that in my 20s because I got a dad bod now, so there's no fixing that, but
Ugh. Well, these guys that ride and rope and all that all the time, they have a very thick butt, it's like
Sure.
a baseball player. A
Well,
baseball
it's
player
gotta
has a
be.
specific kind of build.
Mhm.
And poor
You
Mark,
have
when we
to.
got together, he had a baseball butt. He played baseball all the time. Now he's got a dad bod, and
Right.
it's fine. I'm
That's
absolutely fine with it.
pretty much all
He's
of us.
great. Yeah. But, yeah, where it's talking about this, obsession with size and tone and masculinity, the
Mhm.
masculinity part is what I'm talking about with the Wrangler butts. They have
Yep.
got that here, the men I know,
Mhm.
so ingrained in them, that it has to
It
look a
becomes an
certain way.
obsession, yeah.
Yeah, and there's other things they check for too, but I'm not gonna go into all that. They spend some time worrying about
We're
what the
not gonna
front looks
talk
like
about sock
too.
stuffing, Susie.
Yeah, or I swear there's gotta be some that do. There's got to
Oh,
be
you
some that do.
know there are. Good
Yeah.
lord, there are.
I used to tease this one guy, who's a cowboy, and I said, "What,
Mhm.
you stuffing that sock down in there in case Yeah, your pee-pee stick hits that saddle horn or something,
Oh, ouch. That hurts just
and he's
thinking
like,
about
yeah.
it.
But, I mean, that just shows that men are just as obsessed as women are with
Yeah,
women stuffing their bra. You'd be
absolutely.
surprised how many men stuff their jeans. I mean,
Mhm,
it happens. That's why it's a
mhm.
joke, is because people do it. It wouldn't be a funny joke if nobody did it, because
Right.
everybody'd be like, "What in the hell are they talking about?"
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's the truth, and it's,
Mhm.
like, sad. I mean, it
It
really
is.
is.
It is because it's society that puts that in our head.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I could not care
Mm,
less. I mean, if a guy is dressed
mm-mm.
and he looks, clean and
Mhm.
put together, I don't care what his butt looks like or anywhere else.
Right.
I just want him to be clean and kind
Mhm.
and funny.
Kind and funny. Yep, exactly.
Kind and funny. But
Clean,
anyways,
kind, and funny. I like that. I'm gonna
clean,
write that
kind, and
down.
funny. Yeah.
All girls really want is clean, kind, and funny.
We do. We want clean, kind, and funny.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I mean,
Mhm.
we can be just as
Yep.
hateful about things and obsessive about looks sometimes. But when it comes
Sure.
right down to it, like I always tell my daughters, I say, well, if I married my type is I like these, really tall men that are, like, dark complected with
Mhm.
dark hair and, all this. Well, guess what? Both guys that I married are an average height, not dark complected. Both of them are pretty fair complected. Mark, he is, bless his heart, he's very fair complected. Blonde hair,
A
dark
pasty
blonde
boy, is
hair.
he?
He's a pasty boy. So, we might have a type that we think that's what we want, but that's not
Yeah.
what we actually want when
But
we're
in the
actually
end,
going
your
out and
heart is attracted to something
yeah,
different. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Exactly.
these guys think they've gotta be that person that we think we want,
Mhm.
when really, just hang on, we'll be over there with you regular guys in a minute after we
Right.
you know, we
We'll
might
get
still
this
look
out of
over
our
here.
system.
Yeah, and it may just be looking, I'll be
Yeah.
like, I'm on a diet, but I'm not dead, And so, I might look over here at this, but
Right.
when it comes down to it, I'm going back over there with the
Yeah.
normal guys.
Exactly. Right. Because you know what you're gonna get with them.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, yeah, it says often focus on gaining muscle rather than losing weight, which delays recognition and diagnosis. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it looks like you're just trying to be healthy, right? You're trying to build up muscle and you're trying to be, thinner, but build up your muscle and everything. And that can look like that you're being healthy.
Right.
But a lot of times you're
It
not.
masks
You're
it.
going
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, you're going about it in terrible, terrible ways.
Mhm.
So there is
I need to
that.
pop this up real quick. This is funny.
Sure, let me pop that one down. Yeah,
Fish belly
we call
white.
those very
Those damn Canadians, man.
I know it. I know it. It's so funny. My daughter, Megan, which is Vetta's mom, when she
Mhm.
was in high school, she was dating this guy. He was a Native American. The name just went completely I'm sitting there thinking, well, because I usually just call him an Indian because that's what they call them here.
Right.
If I'm
I
like
think
Native American, they like, you know,
I
they
think the
like look at
PC
me.
term nowadays is indigenous, but
Yeah,
who's
they
gonna
would look
remember
at me like I had lost my mind if I said that. They're just like, "Mm, whatever. I'm an Indian. We live
Right.
on we're
Well,
part of an Indian tribe. We live on an Indian
mhm.
reservation."
Right. Well,
But anyway,
remember
so
go ahead.
yeah, no,
Mm,
so this boyfriend of hers,
mhm.
we were at the lake one day and he saw this guy that was like a fish belly white guy. Okay. And he's
Mhm.
sitting there and he's just real quiet. This kid was just quiet. They're like 16, just very polite, well-mannered kid.
Mhm.
I just loved him. But anyway, he's sitting there and he goes, I mean, seriously, no louder than this. He goes, turkey meat. He thought the guy looked like
What?
turkey meat. And I thought if that's the worst insult that this kid ever comes up with is
Yeah.
turkey meat, you know? But yeah. So in Mark at the end of winter when he goes out to the pool the first time, I always say, turkey meat. 'Cause his little legs are so white.
Yeah, I'm just as bad. We live up here in the north. We don't
Yeah.
see the sun very often,
Yeah.
so
But but we don't care, guys. We're not laughing at you, I promise. Because you
Mhm.
notice who I married. I married the turkey meat
The
guy.
little pasty guy.
Yeah. When we got together, I was dating what I thought was the ideal. I was
Mhm.
dating that and was like, This is never gonna happen, is it? I just am not
Mm,
into you." So
yeah.
he was like, "No." Okay, so here are some oh, if there
Hopefully
we
not too
go.
many because we're gonna get the hook pretty soon. We've been on for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting real close to done.
You know
So
our
this is
our
physical
masters are
behaviors.
watching.
Yeah, well, Mischief in here, so she can't
Oh, okay, good. So we're good then.
we can do what we want. Yeah. So females typically engage in restriction, purging, and binge and purge cycles. So,
Mhm.
and then men, again, with the protein supplements, the over exercising, steroids, you know, they
Mhm.
can be often underweight or normal weight and have problems.
Disordered
So,
habits, yeah.
yeah. So there's that. We
Mm,
are almost done though.
mm,
Seriously. Where is that at? Okay, Susie. Yeah, these will go pretty fast. There's 6
mhm,
more, but they're fast.
mm.
So, and
No
I'll make
problem
sure
for
that
me.
they're yeah.
I just don't wanna
So
put the
this is
cat
for
to sleep.
treatment or comorbid morbidity. I can't even talk.
Mhm,
Women with bulimia or binge eating are more likely to seek treatment than men.
mhm.
So, men with anorexia are actually more likely to seek treatment than women.
Hmm,
Isn't that
that's
weird?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. High comorbidity rates. So these are things that go along with like if you're having these, eating disorders, these go right along with it and they can be morbid, they can kill you basically.
Mhm,
So anxiety 47.9% to 80.6% across disorders. So all of those that have that. So
mhm,
basically 48 to 80, almost 81% of people that have all the eating disorders also suffer from anxiety.
mhm,
42.1 to 70.7 for mood disorders.
mm.
Mm, that's insane. That is so crazy.
71%. Wow.
Yeah, have mood disorders, but at the same time, 80.6% have anxiety. But
Yeah,
that's an awful and some of these have both. I mean,
right.
and more.
And so it's a
So,
domino effect, it's just
yeah, yeah, when you
piling
start
one
with
thing
a
piling on top of another.
mhm, that's what eating
Mm,
disorders do is that they met and these last ones that I'm gonna show you, I think break that down better.
mhm,
And it was one of those the last minute things that I found. But
mm,
anyway, yeah, when you get an eating disorder, it's not the eating disorder so much that gets you, it's all the things that the eating disorder causes.
right.
So, we just think, well, I mean, we think about the obvious, like if you're purging, you think about, problems with your esophagus and all that from all
Mhm,
that, but that's not even the worst of it. The
mm-mm.
worst of it is all these other things that it does.
Just
So, I mean, that's and
exacerbate
as
the
if that's
problem.
not yeah, as if that isn't enough, it's all these others.
Right.
Yeah, mortality and severity. Eating disorders have among the highest mortality rates of any psychiatric condition.
Mm,
At every 62 minutes, at least one person dies in the US due to an eating disorder. So we've been on here for an hour and a half. That's almost two people
almost 2 people.
because it says at least it could be two or three,
Mhm,
you know.
right. Mm,
An anorexia mortality rate is 5.1 per every thousand.
mm.
And bulimia is an estimate of 3 for every thousand. That is
That's a lot
so
of
crazy. And
people.
that's the mortality. That's the
Mhm,
mortality rates of it.
yeah.
It just it just is the more I looked into it, the more I was just like, this is so, so dangerous,
It's a deep,
and it's
dark
so
hole.
hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna look now at some treatment and of the of that and the comorbidity is women
Mm-hmm.
with bulimia or binge eating are more likely to seek treatment than men. Okay, okay, that was the same one. Never mind.
Yeah, you just read that one.
Yeah. I listed it twice somehow. Ugh, you know how I am.
It's worth
I get
repeating
on a
sometimes.
roll.
Mm-hmm.
I get on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, I see where I'm at. Treatment insights. Yeah, I that's what I did. Yeah. Expert insights and risk factors. Genetic predisposition is strong. Having a close relative increases risk 11 times for
Wow.
anorexia, or 9.6 for bulimia, and 2.2 for binge eating.
Hmm. Interesting.
Heredity differs by gender. Genetic risk factors for drive for thinness are less pronounced in male. Estrogen related genes like ESR1 are heavily implicated in female anorexia.
Hmm.
Psychological vulnerabilities such as perfectionism, cognitive rigidity, impulsivity, and low emotional awareness are common triggers. This one is a bunch of this right in here is my ex husband, and he is
Hmm.
very heavy right now. And this is
Hmm.
so, I mean, my daughter and I were just talking about him a couple of days ago and how we're both very worried about him because he's never been somebody that was large.
Yeah.
He would get a little what we would call pudgy, but then
Mm-hmm.
he would gain and lose, gain and lose, gain and lose, which is not good.
No.
But now it's just constantly going up and he's, not healthy and we're so worried. So worried.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
anyway,
that
so
that yo-yoing can be dangerous. I've been going through it
mhm.
for a long time.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So comorbid mental health issues, anxiety, approximately 90%,
Mm.
depression, approximately 67%, OCD are highly prevalent in both males and females with eating disorders. I can understand that because it gets about those repetitive patterns and
Yep.
controlling things
And
and
once you
all
get
that. Yeah,
locked in those negative behaviors, it's hard to break them.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. They make perfect sense to me that
Mm-hmm.
that is part of it.
Yeah.
Now, let's see here. I think I'm getting down to where it might be the ones where my doctor was telling me that,
Mm.
yeah, it is. These next 4, the last 4 are stuff that I looked up because my doctor said that I needed to look it up like 6 months ago, and I just now did it
Mm-hmm.
today. So, I asked, "Do people that have eating disorders, are they always thin? Do they always become thin?"
Mm-hmm.
So it says, "No, people with eating disorders who reduce food intake do not always become very thin, and this is one of the most dangerous and misunderstood aspects of eating disorders. And here's why. So weight equals diagnosis. See, if I'm not overly skinny, they're not looking for eating disorders with me or
Right.
with you or with anybody if you're not tiny.
Mm-hmm.
But that actually can happen where you're not tiny, but you still have it. So you can have a severe eating disorder and still fall within the normal or even overweight BMI range.
Mm-hmm.
Restrictive eating disorders like atypical anorexia nervosa involve all the same behaviors and medical risks as classic anorexia, except the person does not become underweight. That's the one she says that she thinks I am. Now I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to an actual, somebody that's like qualified, but she said, "Girl, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where I sourced it.
Hmm.
Body composition varies. Bodies respond differently to starvation or caloric restriction.
Restriction. Yeah.
Some individuals retain weight due to genetics, stress hormones, or metabolic changes. Others fluctuate in and out of weight categories without their behavior changing. So,
Hmm.
yeah, mine is a lot to do with genetics and stress hormones. And
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, my body just stores it. If I don't eat, my body stores it. I can eat 3
Yeah.
meals a day and lose weight. And why I
Yeah.
don't do that, because that makes more sense. I could actually be eating and lose more weight.
Mhm.
And I will do that for a while, and then I fall back into the patterns of starving myself. Like,
Right.
and then people will be like, "Are you hungry?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm not. I
You're not.
don't
That's the
feel
thing. You're
hungry.
not. You're
Yeah,
not. I'm not hungry until the first time I eat, and then I can't stop.
yeah. Or like if you sit down to eat, or if I
Mhm.
know I'm about to sit down to eat, like
Mhm.
if Mark and I go to town, we're gonna go to town on Friday. So when we head to town, I'll be hungry because I know I'm gonna eat.
Right.
But if I was sitting at home, I wouldn't know I was gonna eat, so I wouldn't think about it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't even it wouldn't even come up.
And I think
So
that's
anyway,
more your mind than your body. Your mind is
I do
telling you,
too.
"Ooh, we're gonna eat some good food," and I'm excited,
Yeah, so
and,
you better be hungry, and then I
yep,
get there and I eat, half a you
6
know
pieces of a nacho.
yeah. So, restriction can lead to heart issues. So that's
Bradycardia and
bradycardia,
arrhythmias.
arrhythmias. I have this
Mhm.
problem. Electrolyte imbalance. I have that problem.
Mhm.
Cognitive decline. Some people would say I have that problem,
I'm not one of them.
but I do have depression, you know. But I have bone loss. I have strain on my organs.
Mhm.
My kidneys were in kidney failure whenever I was having chemo, and it wasn't chemo related.
Mhm.
I would say, "Well, I'm on chemo and I'm having it's causing problems with my kidneys." That wasn't what was causing it. It was all this other.
Yeah, right.
Because they would say, "This chemo does not affect your kidneys. This one
Mhm.
doesn't." So, it was all kind of a pattern of all these things that I was having and doing that led her to say, "You need to think about this."
Right. Hmm.
So, wasn't like
Well,
one day she just goes, "I think you have."
right. Well, thank God there's doctors out there that are starting to recognize this, though,
Yeah,
'cause that gives me hope too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and it does for men too because,
Mhm.
you know, more people are paying attention to it.
Right.
So, important terms, atypical anorexia nervosa, same
Mhm.
clinical behaviors as anorexia, restriction, dysmorphia, but the person is not underweight. So,
Mm,
this one is what she says that I am, or she
mm.
thinks I am. I keep saying now. I've never said it till today. And now I'm like, "That's the one I am," and before today, you could not have paid me to have said it.
Is that it? Yeah.
But, sometimes when you just accept something, it becomes easier to accept. It's like, okay, once you say it, then it's like,
Right.
okay, now I can
Okay.
say it. So I
Now it
want
has
these
a
guys to think
name.
that too
Right. Now it has a name. Now I know how to address it and how
and
to move
fix it,
forward.
hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I am going to move forward. And I
Mhm.
know that Mischief is probably watching this,
Mhm.
even if she's not here. She's watching
Miss
it or she will be in a little bit. And
mm,
she's gonna be on my ass later on tonight, I guarantee it, being like, "When are you gonna call a doctor?" She
yeah.
will, I guarantee you. When she does, I'm gonna email you or I'm gonna message you and say, "Here we go."
Told you so.
Yeah.
Mischief is everywhere.
She is everywhere, y'all. So, other eating disorders that don't fit classic boxes but are still dangerous and often missed. So that's this EDNOS and OSFED. A
Mhm.
myth to bust. You can't have an eating disorder if you're not thin. That is
Mm,
false. You can be any shape, any weight, and still suffer terribly from food restriction or obsession.
right.
So I think that we need to remember that women
Yeah.
and men, let
Mhm.
me be a lesson to you because I mean, I have known this for years, but had this doctor actually bring it up 6 months ago or more and
Mhm.
ignored it.
Right.
So
And it
it
wasn't until somebody who knew what they were talking about told you that you actually were like, "Wow."
Yeah, and then that I started looking into all this today, and it sounded so normal then.
Mhm.
It took away whenever I well, not just today, I've had this written up for month or not months, but, probably a month that I've
Mhm.
had this ready to go,
Yeah.
and, but looking back over it and seeing other stuff, that I wanted to add or subtract or whatever and getting it
Mhm.
ready, it normalized it, and that's what I want it to do for the chat and for anybody
Right.
coming in later.
That's why we're
Normalize it,
here.
because that's what it's done with me, is it's
Hmm.
normalized it for me.
Well,
And now I'm, like, paying attention to what Mark does too, 'cause I I wanna make
sure.
sure he's you know,
Well,
I
it's like
really
we always
do.
say. It's like we always say, Susie. You can't look at a person and know that they have mental health
Mhm.
issues. The
Absolutely.
same way you can't look at a person and know that they have eating disorders,
Eating
because
disorders.
what's happening to them is happening on the inside.
Yeah.
And
It's the stuff
so,
on the inside that kills them. It
yeah,
you know.
exactly. And so if you can't, a lot of people have that out of sight, out of mind mentality
Mhm.
that if you can't see it, then it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
And
Because
that's
even the
what it
ones
does.
that's another thing that we need to understand is that even these young girls, 22 years old, that have
Hmm.
anorexia and they weigh 67 pounds,
Hmm.
it's not the 67 pounds that kill them.
No, it's the
It's
organ
everything.
failure. It's the,
Yeah. It's all the rest of it. I
hmm
mean, is it in a way causing it? Yes.
well,
It's a
sure.
contributing factor,
Hmm.
but it is the organ failure and all that that actually kills them.
Yep.
And so that can
Absolutely.
be happening even at my size, even at an
Hmm.
18. You know,
Yeah.
I remember not long ago, when I was still having chemo, so 6 months ago, that,
Hmm.
I was telling Mischief, "Well, my kidney's not functioning good, this, that." The whole time that Mark had, like, kidney cancer and was going through that, they were
Hmm.
also on my butt about my kidney failure
Right.
and liver issues and stuff, and
Hmm.
so
Yeah. It's a domino
but
effect.
the
It
only
really is.
one that's put 2 and 2 together was my oncologist of all things.
Hmm. Well,
So
thank
I
God.
am gonna have it checked, but I want me to be like a learning deal for people.
Sure.
So another thing is eating normally in public, but restricting in private. That's me.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is very common and it's often referred to as masking behavior, social eating, compensation, intermittent restriction or intermittent fasting, that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
It says she eats fine when she's with us, or he had pizza at the party, he must be okay. You don't
Hmm.
know that. You
Right.
also don't know if that person, and this is not me, but you also don't know if that person ate that pizza, excused themselves to the bathroom, and got rid of that pizza.
Exactly.
You would never know it.
Nope.
They don't announce,
Mm-mm. Okay, I'm going to
you
vomit
know?
now.
Yeah. Or goes home and takes laxatives for the next few days, to
Hmm.
get rid of every little thing.
Right.
So skipping meals and eating once a day, John.
Hmm.
This pattern may involve fasting all day and eating only dinner,
Hmm.
justifying a small intake with, I'm not hungry or I ate earlier. I say that
Hmm.
all the time. I'm not hungry or I
Yeah.
ate earlier or something,
So do I. Hmm.
High functioning, masking, appearing okay despite fatigue, lightheadedness, or even preoccupation with food.
Hmm.
Whenever I don't think you were a mod then, but whenever I was constantly falling down,
Hmm.
I was tripping, over my own feet. I would get out
Yeah.
of bed and couldn't make it to the living room without, like, being so out of breath. Yes, for a
Hmm.
while, it was because I had a blood clot in my lung, but
Mm.
not the whole time. You
Yeah.
know,
I've
the blood clot
experienced
in the
fatigue and
lung
lightheadedness because of it too.
the blood clot in
Mm.
the lung happened because I was so tired and fatigued that I just kept being very still, just laying around a lot or sitting around a lot.
Right.
And so that caused the blood clot was actually related to the fact that I was so malnourished that I
Hmm.
wasn't I wasn't eating, and so I was lightheaded and exhausted just all
Yeah.
the time, and it it all has to do
Right.
with that. And this is Susie
Exactly.
being honest, because this is stuff I have not said it before
Hmm.
today. So
Well,
it says this
good.
can include atypical anorexia nervosa, restrictive type OSFED, which is the other unspecified ones.
Hmm.
I can't read that one. You'll have to.
Disordered eating, even if not formally diagnosed.
Mhm. and that's the American Psychiatric Association,
Hmm.
Seeking Recovery Center. And then psychological patterns often present, extreme focus on food, guilt, or calories. That's me.
Hmm.
Internal rules about when eating is allowed. That's me.
That's a big one
I
too.
Yeah, I was
And
about to
it
say, do
goes
you
the
do
other
that?
way. It goes the other way too. I'm glad that that one of these pages brought that up because I've had that in my head for a
Yeah.
while now. Is that it goes both ways. I made a comment to somebody the other day. I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I said, "I know it's dinner time, but I don't feel hungry. But my head is telling me I need
Mhm.
to eat because
Mhm.
you're programmed to think 5 o'clock. That's when you eat dinner, and if you don't, your body acts weird. Like you did something
Mhm.
wrong." And it's like, and it goes both ways. You either find yourself eating when you're not hungry or not eating because it's not time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
again, it goes back to your
I
mind controlling your body.
That's, like I said, how I have been finding myself eating later at night so that I
Hmm.
won't eat more. I will
Right.
only eat whatever I've got on that plate, and I've started using like a little salad plate for a dinner plate.
Hmm.
So
My
it looks like I've
doctor's
got all this food, and
Yeah, my doctor recommended that too. He said it
yeah,
plays a trick on your mind because
it does.
even though you're eating the same amount of food, it looks like you have so much more in front of you,
Mhm.
and that will help
Mhm.
trick your mind too. That's a good trick.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So,
Hmm.
anyway, so yeah, okay. Internal rules about when it's okay to eat. Yeah.
Hmm.
Can you read that one? I can't see it very good.
Compensatory behaviors like overexercising, caffeine use,
Mhm.
or saving up calories. That was another thing. I'm a big pop drinker and a
Caffeine
big
use.
yeah. I'm a big soda drinker. As
Mhm.
Jimena says, the Coca-Cola
That's what I
is my
drink too.
friend, and I will drink that right up until I go to bed. And
I will too.
and I keep
I have
asking
one with
myself,
me at night
right, and I keep asking myself, why can't I sleep at night? It's kind of
because you're drinking
obvious,
caffeine.
caffeine.
Mhm.
So, and I'll give
Mhm.
people
I do
shit for
too.
drinking coffee too late at night, but it's the same thing.
It's
It's
the
the
same
same
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
So I think there's one more, and I think it's little,
Okay.
if I'm thinking correctly. It just goes along with that one, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, very little. Bottom line.
Mm. People can eat a slice of cake at a party, make dinner for their
Mhm.
family, and still be severely restricting, suffering, and in danger the rest of the time. Weight and
Mhm.
appearances do not reflect severity. And that's an important
Need to
note.
remember that one.
Hmm.
We need to
And
remember that one.
men, we're trying to focus mainly on how men
Mhm.
differ and how they deal with it than women
Yeah.
do. And it goes back to what we were saying before. Men, if you feel like you can't talk about things like this with your male friends or family members,
Mhm.
talk to your physician. Believe it or not, just
Absolutely.
start with your primary care physician and talk to him.
Absolutely.
They
Because 'cause
may
they'll know which
have
direction to send you.
yes, and they'll know to test you for certain things to first of all diagnose you correctly and make sure that you're being
Mhm.
treated for the thing you actually have. And then put a treatment plan together. And maybe it might include a nutritionist or other people, but that's a good start. Also, if you I know a lot of guys don't, but some do, and I'm one of them. If you have a therapist already, if you're already in
Mhm.
therapy, talk to your therapist about it
Absolutely. That was gonna be my
because if you get nothing else out of this discussion, get this out is that your mind is what is controlling your body. And if your
Mhm.
therapist can help you get your thoughts in check, that can help heal your body all
That's
by
why
itself.
this is listed. You
So,
notice that eating disorders is listed as a
mhm,
mental illness,
yep,
not a physical illness. Even though it
right,
causes physical issues,
right,
it is listed as a mental illness
yep,
because your
because it
mind
is.
is controlling it. Another
Yep.
thing I was gonna say was that if your doctor is not one that seems to pay a lot of attention, you might try a nurse practitioner
Mhm.
because nurses are so in tune to that kind of stuff that sometimes doctors are kind of on a different level. And I have really had good luck with nurses or nurse practitioners
Mhm.
listening whenever I've had a complaint. Like, they have listened and really been an advocate for me.
Well,
And
that's awesome.
it was a nurse practitioner that found my cancer every time.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Public service announcement to all of our, nurse practitioners out there.
Yeah.
I have a sister-in-law who just graduated with her doctorate and is gonna be
Wow.
a nurse practitioner for,
That's awesome.
psychiatric patients, which is
Wow.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing, and they're getting where they can do more and more and more now.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know,
Mhm.
prescribe even stronger medications than what they could to begin with,
Yeah.
because there's just a lot more of them, and especially in a lot of rural areas, you get a lot of nurse practitioners and
Mhm.
stuff, and I brag
They're
on them all the time.
fantastic. The nurse
Yeah. I see
practitioner is
my,
the nurse
yeah.
practitioner is who diagnosed my, my intestinal issues and probably saved my
Wow.
life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 times I've had a nurse practitioner save my life. More than that, actually, but that's just the cancer.
Right.
So, yeah, it was crazy, but also the times that I was near death, because of the cancer or because of chemo or something, it was nurse practitioners almost always that found it and sent it to the doctor. So
Mhm.
the doctor kinda gets the credit for it, but a lot of times it was actually the nurse practitioner that said, we're gonna test for this, this, and this, and I'm gonna send those to your doctor." So,
Right.
we do have a few
Thank
starred
God.
comments. I'm gonna check those real quick. "I
Mhm.
thought you did that twice, Mare. I thought you did 5 gifted ones twice, but I didn't wanna be like, 'Oh, she did it again,' and then look like
Damn, Mare's
like
making it
I was
rain tonight.
hinting." She's making those memberships rain,
She's
y'all.
making it
Thank
rain.
you, Mare. She is making it rain.
Mhm.
So let's see here. Ben says, yeah, or yay, males will tend to do, yeah, yeah, males tend to do the protein stuff and the steroids, abs, or not steroids.
Mhm.
Yeah, steroids.
It's all
Yeah,
about
they do.
big. Get big.
Yeah. And yet be small. Isn't that weird? Because they'll
Right.
want to be thin, but they want to be
Mhm.
big. So it's almost doesn't exist if you think about it.
Right. Well, it's like
I mean,
the trend with young girls today. The trend now is teeny tiny waists, big giant butts.
and
How
big,
did
yeah,
you
and
how
big
do you
boobs.
do
Big
that?
boobs. Yeah, no.
Yeah, big boobs, big
Those
booty,
waist trainers, which
itty bitty
is
waist.
dangerous. It moves everything around.
Yeah, you're messing with your
People are
organs when you do stuff like that. Don't do it,
it
girls.
is no, do not do
Not
it,
worth it.
please.
It's not worth
Yeah. Brazy says, "A few
it.
sweet moments on the lips last forever on the hips." Absolutely.
That's an old nugget.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's as true today as it ever was.
Thank you for the super chat, Brazy.
Uh, Don't make
Ban the
fun of my
biscuits and gravy and buy some kale. No, I
I
like
love
kale.
this.
I am one of those people that like it, but every once in a while, I just need some biscuits and gravy.
See? Thank you, sister, for having my back.
I just need some biscuits and gravy.
Love and you know when I discovered biscuits and gravy? When I moved to
Uh-uh.
Oklahoma. I
Did
moved to
you? Have you ever had
Oklahoma.
chocolate gravy?
No, I've never had chocolate gravy, but somebody taught me how to make it right, how to make it in a cast iron skillet using
Oh,
milk
yeah.
and flour, and, it comes out that beautiful white up here.
Oh,
People don't
yeah.
know how to make biscuit gravy. It comes out they don't
No.
drain the sausage, and so it
Yeah.
takes on this brown color. Ugh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Milk
Yeah.
gravy for me
Yeah.
all the way.
Me too. Yeah, every once in a while, I just gotta have some biscuits, and Mark doesn't like them. He doesn't like
Mhm.
biscuits and gravy. He likes gravy, and he likes biscuits, but he doesn't like biscuits and gravy.
Doesn't like them together. A
Yeah, but
strange
my
guy you're married
ex-mother-in-law
to.
used to make I know, he's so weird. I love him, but jeez.
He's
Oh,
quirky, he's
Lord.
not weird.
He's very no, he's weird. He
Okay,
passed quirky.
alright. Okay.
But but yeah, my ex-mother-in-law used to make chocolate gravy, and it's a lot like pudding, like, it's still hot, like, if you make, like, a
Mhm.
homemade pudding, chocolate pudding, and it's
Yeah.
still hot and you pour that over
Oh,
biscuits.
wow.
I don't
Oh,
care
that
for it,
sounds
and I am a chocolate nut, but I don't
Mhm.
care for it.
I don't know if I'd
But I'm
like
really
chocolate on
weird about
biscuits, though.
Yeah, I don't think I don't like it. Like, I
See, that
don't
would
like
be a
like
that'd be a texture thing for me probably.
yeah, yeah, I think that
Mhm.
they don't to me, they just don't fit together, but if
No,
you
I don't
like
think
it,
so.
you love it. I don't know
Yeah.
anybody that likes it that doesn't absolutely love it.
Oh, so it's one of those things you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Brazy says, "My point of view, if men like the females with thin hot bods, he better be equally hot."
There you go.
Crazy.
Feminist coming out.
Yep, I'm just coming out. Equal opportunity,
Mhm.
intelligence, compassionate, romantic, unconditional. Yeah, is my cup of tea. Yeah, looking
Looking
for a
for a
friend.
friend.
Yeah, Mark and I were yeah, looking for a friend. But Mark and I were the best of friends when we first before we started dating, we were best friends. We talked about his divorce, my divorce, that kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
just a shoulder, you know.
Sure.
Like we had that friendship and then all of a sudden I was just like, "Oh crap." This has went a
What have
little
I
further than
done?
I was thinking. I fell in love with that monster. And it was funny because he was gone on vacation and I was riding around with my some friends of mine at the lake acting like a crazy, probably crazy drunk person, to be perfectly honest, because I was getting a divorce and feeling my oats. So,
Sure.
and anyway, I called him and left a message on his voicemail on his phone,
Mhm.
and he was on vacation with his family, his
Mm,
parents and siblings, and
okay.
I didn't hang up the phone good. So then he
Uh-oh.
got about 45 minutes of me just, "He's so cute. No, I just love this." And, I just oh, he's telling all
Isn't
this
he dreamy?
and then he, like when he got home, he, like, called me and told me, and he would, like, say things that I said, and I'd be like,
Oh, no.
"What the hell? What the
How does
hell?"
he know? Is he am I mic'd?
Yeah. This is he's got me yeah, and my ex-husband was one of those that he, like I really he might have been the kind of person that would have, had the house bug.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I mean, he kinda did, and to be
Mhm.
perfectly honest, he did.
Mm.
So, to think that with Mark was not that far-fetched, you know?
Right. 'Cause you've
Because
just
I was
come
like,
out of
"Here I go
that.
again."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, but then he finally he didn't, like, make me wonder for very long. I think the same day he told me, and I was just like, "Oh my god." I was so embarrassed. So then I'm thinking back, "Oh my god,
Mortified.
I know what I
What
said."
did I
And when
say?
he did he said, "No, well, the one thing I wanna know was who was the guy that you said was showing his ass, and what was he doing?" And I said, "He was showing his ass. He pulled his pants down." He
He
was
was
showing his
literally showing his ass.
yeah. So
Oh god.
Aileen says, "I used to count calories and weigh myself several times a day." Girl, me too.
Mhm.
And if
And
I'm
there's
not careful, I go right back to it.
right, and there's nothing more deflating than that
No, and
because 'cause you're setting
I don't
yourself up
know
for
how
failure.
men are because, I've never been a man, but women's weight can fluctuate about 5 pounds in the day,
Oh, yeah.
different times of the
Easy.
day. And
Easy.
so and sometimes even more, and
Mhm.
I mean, and then God, if you gotta poop, it's like even worse. And
Right.
so it's just terrible. And so you will, you'll be like, you'll weigh and it'll be like, okay, that's not great, but okay. And then you weigh again and oh, I lost 2 pounds. And then you
Mhm.
weigh again later on and, "Oh, I gained 5 pounds." Well, actually, you gained 3 because the 2 you had lost, you're up 3, but
Mhm.
no, I gained 5 pounds, you
Right.
know,
In your head,
so
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. The other one that drives me crazy is that my scale at home and my scale and the scale at the doctor's office, I swear to God, the doctor's office scale is at least 4 pounds heavier than my home scale.
Every time.
Part of that's because you got clothes on when you're weighing yourself at the doctor's office and shoes and all that crap.
Yeah.
But
You wanna
part of
see
it
me, I
is
go
I
there,
think
I
it's
start
rigged, I swear
stripping
to
stuff
God.
off.
And
I
I'm
start
telling you,
stripping
I'll take my shoes off,
I do. I'm like,
I'm
"I'm
going
not
for
weighing
every
these heavy
ounce I can
shoes."
get. I'm going for
And
every
I will
ounce I can
go
get.
to the in the winter, I will go to the doctor's office cold, like, in, like, not real warm clothes, like, in
Right,
more of
not
a
dressed
like
for
a
the weather because it's too
fall
heavy.
yeah. Because I'm like, "Uh-uh, mm-mm, not even. Because her
I'm
scale's always wrong too.
I'm with you, sister, I'm with you.
So
Ian
Ian says the
Wallace.
mix of lack of vitamins as well creates a lot of mental issues. Absolutely. So
Mhm.
eating disorders make mental health much worse, sleep problems, energy, etc., and constantly thinking of food and weight. You are absolutely
Bingo.
right.
Right on the button.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And then he says, great to bring the weight into it, Susie. Stigma that needs to be broken. Yeah, every
Mhm.
size person can and do have eating disorders, and I'm fighting this daily with professionals.
Mm.
I am I am wishing you the best of luck on that because it is so hard, and it is hard
Yeah.
because people don't think that you could possibly have an eating disorder if you're not skinny. They
Right.
they immediately think that well, she's not. What is she talking about? That's why I would never mention it. I would never bring it up
Right.
because I could just see, and I can see a certain troll is gonna have fun with it,
Yeah.
about how I think I have an eating disorder. Well, F you,
Mhm.
troll.
Yep.
Go talk to my doctor.
Right.
So, let's see you. At least I'm here on camera with my face and my voice and my
Mhm.
name and my address and everything else.
Putting it out there and owning it.
That's right, to try to help somebody instead of try to tear them down.
Exactly.
So, this is comment, question, comment, question. She's serious.
Susie talked to cancer doctors. They gave me a mouthwash type med to numb my mouth to take chemo pills. Oh, for the
Yeah.
gag reflex. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I do. I have that.
That's interesting. Yeah, you
Now I
definitely
have
have
to
an
I
overactive gag reflex.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the one that they give me, I can't take because, I have to make my own because the one that they give me has oh crap, the name of it just went out my head. What's that thing that numbs everything? That numbs things. It's a drug. Crap.
Oh, God. Now
Ugh,
I'm blanking.
you know what I
Mm,
mean though.
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have a severe allergy to it. Like I went into anaphylactic shock.
Lidocaine.
Lidocaine.
Yeah.
And that we're talking
You went
about,
into
it has that
anaphylactic
in it.
shock? Oh, wow.
Yes, and what's funny was I was at the oncologist office
Mhm.
and, I had a port in my chest
Mhm.
where they would put the
With the
chemo
medicine.
into there.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
there for a while, they had never done it, but all of a sudden they were into this thing, "Well, oh, if we give you this shot of lidocaine, it makes this so less painful." Well, that shot hurt worse than sticking the needle in my chest.
Always
So,
does.
yeah. So I was already like, "No, I don't want it," and they were like, "Oh, I've already got it," and I'm like, "Okay, do it today, but don't do it next week, don't do it
Mhm.
next Friday." So they're like, "Okay." Literally said that,
Mhm.
and, they put the needle in, they give me this lidocaine,
Mhm.
and I sat there and I went, "Something's not right," and
Mm.
I said, "Something is not right," and my head just went, boom,
Oh my
my head
god.
just and I'm, like, sliding. They told me I was out, I don't know what I was doing, but they told me I kinda started sliding out of the chair, and they're, like, grabbing me, and
Wow.
they, like, did the whole EpiPen, like, slammed it into my leg, and
Well,
they were
thank God you
putting
were
stuff
there
into
and not
my
at home or something. Holy crap.
yeah. They put
Mm.
something into my port, I
Mhm.
don't know what it was. I couldn't remember, what all they did, but
Yeah.
some kind of adrenaline and all this stuff, to get me
Right.
going, and called the
Epinephrine.
ambulance,
Mhm.
and the ambulance had to come across. Literally, I'm on the west side of the street is my oncologist's office,
Mhm.
and the east side of the street, or actually it's backwards. The east side of the street is my oncologist's office. The west side of the
Mhm.
street is the hospital. There's a
Mm.
street that runs between them. The
Okay.
ambulance left the hospital, came over to the oncologist's office, picked me up, took me back to the hospital, and it was $1,600. Mhm. But when my daughter was with me, Katie, not Megan, the youngest daughter,
Mhm.
when I came to, they said I just kept saying, get Katie," because I
Mhm.
didn't want them to take me out the back door or something, and she's sitting out in the waiting room, doesn't know anything's going on.
Right. Right.
And
The hell's
so
my mom?
yeah, they went and got her. But
Mm.
anyway, she said they put me, which they ended up taking me out that way. But anyway, she said that she did wonder what the hell's going on when she sees these ambulance guys come running in with the,
Right.
with the bed and everything to take in there.
Yeah.
And she's just like, what's going on? And then she said about the time they went in that my oncologist came out and said, we've had a little problem.
Mm.
But she said
Wow.
that whenever I came out on that stretcher, I
Mhm.
was completely purple. Like my
Oh my
entire body was
god.
purple.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't take that mouthwash.
Yeah.
So I make my own. I have everything that's in it except for that, except for the
Mhm.
lidocaine, and it does help.
Oh, okay.
But I need to do it all the time. It helps with mouth sores too, and it helps your gag
Mm,
reflex.
yeah.
But, I will take nausea pills every time I'm gonna eat. I have to take a nausea pill, which
So
calms
what
my gag reflex.
so what was the point of injecting that into your port? Does the chemo burn when they put it in?
What it is the okay, so there's, like, this port. They got it in their heads, and a bunch of the hospitals were doing that, where they wouldn't inject it in they inject it, but it was supposedly, like, it doesn't go into your port, it just goes in
Like
around it.
around it to numb
Yeah,
the
to
skin?
numb it so that when
Mhm.
they then put because the thing that they're gonna poke in you is way bigger. It's
Oh,
kind of a big
okay.
needle that goes into you.
Right.
So they're trying to numb that, but I would rather have 10 of those. That little tiny
Yeah, me
needle with the
too.
lidocaine
Right.
hurt. I mean, it burned.
Mhm.
And so I'm just like, "Just do it this other way." So after that, I mean, half the time I'd just be like, wouldn't even hardly feel it because you get so used to it.
Sure.
But yeah, it almost killed me, and she said if I do
Mhm.
it, or she didn't, the doctor, whenever I came into the emergency room part, he
Mhm.
looked at me and he goes, "I could tell you what's wrong with you." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "You're allergic to lidocaine."
Mm.
And he says, "You're a really pretty color right now, periwinkle."
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, "Thanks." I never saw
Mm.
it. I
You
could
have a
see my
real
arms, but everything was fuzzy.
yeah.
Everything was fuzzy.
Oh, I can
So for
imagine.
hours, it was fuzzy. But yeah, so guys,
Mm.
y'all be careful with lidocaine too, please.
Yeah.
But,
Anything you've never had
yeah.
before.
Yeah, anything you've never had before, be
Mm.
careful. Don't do it somewhere else. Because that doctor said that it gets worse with each time. And I used to
Oh,
have
really?
lidocaine when I'd go to the dentist and stuff, and it never
Mhm.
bothered me. I would get
Yeah.
itchy palms, so I can't say that it never bothered me. I'd get itchy palms, but that
Right.
was it. But
Yeah.
this time, I was
Must have
just like,
just gotten worse.
"Something is wrong." Something
Mhm.
is bad wrong. So, yeah,
Wow.
I almost died, but he said that I probably wouldn't survive it again, so I have to be very careful and, you know,
Mhm.
EpiPens and all this stuff, so,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, that's completely off topic, but
No, that's fascinating, though.
but, yeah, Darcy's thanks. I do have that, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's going through, chemo.
Mhm.
It does help with the gag reflex, but it mostly helps with mouth sores
Mhm.
because 'cause they're terrible. They are
Oh,
absolutely
I can
terrible.
imagine.
I was laughing because whenever, I took those I had to take, a handful of chemo pills twice a day,
Mhm.
every day for 6 months, and before that, I was always on an infusion, but this last time I had chemo, it was these pills. Now, they
Mhm.
come in these containers, and they're wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped in bubble wrap and completely sealed. You have to literally cut them open with, like, a razor because
Right.
you can't get them open. The
Mhm.
bottle is, just a little bottle, like a regular pill bottle.
Sure.
And it's like a
Yeah.
huge, like, almost like a cantaloupe by the time they've got it
Like
all wrapped
Fort
up.
Knox, yeah.
I have to put gloves on to handle the pills, okay? Nobody can handle them, the
Mhm.
whole bit. I have to
Right.
put gloves on to do it. But then I put them in my mouth and swallow 'em.
Mhm.
Does that make any damn sense?
Sounds like they didn't think it all the way through.
I know it. And so anywhere they touched in my mouth, I
They
would
would
get a
give you
sore.
sores. Oh, wow.
So I would put water in my mouth and kinda lean this way and put them in
Mhm.
and swallow real fast, and they're
Yeah.
huge horse pills, so it's not
Oh,
like they're
yeah.
easy to swallow.
No, I've seen some of them.
Yeah, they're awful. But anyway, I'm sorry, guys, I just went off on some kinda weird tangent, but anyway,
No,
getting to know Susie, I
that's
guess.
right. Exactly.
But anyway, I think that's about all we've got for tonight, and I appreciate you so much. You make things so fun. Even when it's a, like, serious topic, it's just fun to do
Well,
this with
yeah.
you.
Well,
So,
thank you. I feel the same way about you.
I am wanting to
We're a
work
good
on
team.
something. I've got a yeah, we are. I've got a
Mhm.
little something coming up I wanna do in July, and I'm gonna see if I can get Ben to be on with us because I want in on some of that
Oh,
some of that John and Ben action, you know?
the magic.
Yeah. The magic of
Mhm.
John and Ben. Yeah, I wanna get on
I
some
love
of that.
doing lives with him. I really do. He's
He's
such a fun
hilarious.
guy.
I love him. I did
Yeah.
an interview with him a few weeks ago, well, a few
Mhm.
months ago now.
Yeah.
I was just like this, you know?
I know.
And then, like, just listening to
Oh,
him and
Jamie.
I just loved him, and then I was just like, "And Ben said this, and Ben
Mhm.
said" and my daughter's like, "Who is this Ben guy?" And I'm like, "I'll be over it in a day or 2. Just leave me alone. Just
The
this
silver fox,
tiny
he's so
little" Yep.
dreamy. He's got quite the fan club going, and I
I
think I helped start
know.
it. He really is a
You do
great guy,
too,
though.
though. You do too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are, like, in love with John, and
Nah.
so I love everybody. Every time I do, like, Chris, whenever I Lord Christopher when I interviewed him, I was just
I
like,
love Chris
"He's
too.
so cool." I
Chris
just
is a
yeah,
character. I really
he is
wanna
a
make it up to
character.
visit him someday, but he lives
I do
so far up
too.
north. He's
Oh, I
probably, like,
know.
9 hours away from me. That's a long
You know,
drive.
he went and
I
visited,
love you, buddy,
James
but
Collins. He went and visited James Collins. He was on the road headed somewhere, and they
Yeah.
visited I'm like, "Now I'm jealous." And it was the day that I was gonna interview James. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I was just,
I
like,
was
sitting
there.
there thinking,
I was
"They're
there
there
for the story.
together right now."
I was feeling the jealousy too. I was like, "Damn, he
Yeah,
got to meet
I
him
got all
before I did? Bastard."
see, we this is real, guys. They can say that it's all parasocial, but it's not all parasocial.
Mm-mm.
We get just as attached to the people in the chat and everything as they do to, to the creators
Absolutely.
and stuff. I mean, we just
Well, you never
such an
know,
amazing
Susie. You keep yourself healthy long enough, we might be able to take this on the road once or twice.
I know it.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely. He's gonna retire. I almost said graduate again. Every time I do it, I almost say he's gonna graduate.
Well, it is a graduation of life, right?
He's gonna graduate
It's
and
one
go
of
to
those
work for me.
milestones to
He's
graduate to
gonna go
retirement.
but yeah. So he's
Mhm.
already wanting to do some traveling, in
Oh,
September,
yeah.
we're going to, South Dakota, the 1st week of
Mhm.
September. I can't wait. I've got an aunt and uncle there, and I'm gonna really do some talking. Hopefully, this whole troll thing is over by then, but if not, I'm gonna talk to my uncle because he's a kind of a big deal lawyer.
Oh, a
And I said,
highfalutin lawyer.
I might be able to get a free lawyer, and I'm all
There
about
you
free,
go.
especially if he's a good one.
Right. Yeah, the good ones are never free.
Oh, how
Even if
funny.
you're related to them.
Mary's over on our Mare chat our mod chat going, "TikTok, Susie, 2-hour mark."
Mhm. Well,
She's she
she's
tries to
still
be mean like
laughing
this.
and your cheeks are still rosy and you look good. I think we all
Yeah.
know when you're starting to feel it, and that's
Yeah,
when the clocks
yeah.
start
I don't
popping
I
up in
don't
the
do it
chat.
as much as I used to.
No.
Mischief used to laugh at me because 'cause I'd start doing this.
Mhm.
I would be, like, leaning on the
Yeah.
table, and she'd be like, "Okay,
Well,
I'm gonna push the button." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll quit." But
yeah.
anyway, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure, as
Yeah, what
always.
is tomorrow? Is tomorrow Thursday?
Tomorrow is
We've
Thursday.
got
Yep.
we've got a good one tomorrow, guys. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be very careful with what I say. It's about finding the finders, and it's all
Mm.
this whole CIA secret cult something it's a mess, okay?
That one goes
And
deep down the rabbit hole.
yeah, and I'm gonna go
Mhm.
deep, but I'm also gonna go careful because I'm not really wanting, that knock, knock, knock on the door by
Yeah. You
any
don't
kind
want
of
those
federal
black
agents.
Suburbans pulling up in the driveway, no.
I
We want
mean,
our
you
Susie.
know, OSA's bad enough, okay? I don't
Right.
need it.
Yeah, no, the government's scarier than all of them.
Yes. But anyway,
Yes,
guys,
ma'am.
we're gonna go, and we're gonna have a good one I've got good shows all the way through, I think. I'm gonna be off on Sunday. I'm taking Sunday off.
Mhm.
But, all the way up through at least Tuesday, and then I've got other stuff that's planned all the way up to, like, through Saturday again, so I just haven't got them on the books yet, but keep an eye on our books. Keep an eye on that on
Mhm.
my channel. It'll show you what we got coming up, and if we have to move anything around, because sometimes when you book out a week or 2, sometimes you gotta finagle them around a little.
Yep, sometimes.
So, but anyway, we're gonna go. Thank you again, John. Thank you,
Alright.
everybody, for being
Thank you,
here. I
Susie.
love you all.
Thank
Talk
you,
to you
chat.
later.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed the show. So glad you were here. We meet here most days. We're but first coffee, and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. We're but first coffee, and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't wanna miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't wanna miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all.